विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you. Before we start this event, may I first request our President Shri Saki Dalmia ji to welcome our chief guest today, Shri Rajiv Ranjan Jha, who is a Director Project of Power Finance Corporation with a plant. I'll request Mr. Rajneesh Kumarji, Chair of our BFSI Committee of PhD Chamber, to present a plant to Mr. Ambikanand Jha, who is the General Manager of UCO Bank. I'll request Sanjeev Gupta ji, co-chair of a BFSI committee, to present a plant to Shri S.R. Meena, the General Manager, SIDBI. May I request Dr. Mehta, Executive Director, PhD Chamber of Commerce, to present the plant to our Miss Manushri. She is from the ICRA. We have with us our former chairman of the committee, Mr. Ram Kumarji from PNB. May I request you to please come up on the stage and felicitate Mr. Mukesh Mohan Gupta ji. He had been the chair of our committee for last 2 years. He's from PNB. I will once again request our co-chair, Shri Sanjeev Gupta ji, to present a plant to Shri Dev Goyal ji, who is a co-chair of our MSME committee. And I'll once again request Dr. Mehta to please present the plant to Ms. Ritu. She is from Ugrow Capital. May I once again request our chair, Shri Rajneesh Kumarji, to present a plan to Mr. Meena, S.R. Meena, SIDBI. Thank you. Sorry, I missed it. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now I'll request Sanjeev Gupta ji, our co-chair. Okay, sir. Then I'll request you only, sir, to please felicitate Mr. Sanjeev Agrawal from JK Tires. He is a CFO and group head of JK Tires. Now, sir, may I request you to give the opening remarks for the session.
Thank you, Babita ji, for starting this session. And I think on a Saturday afternoon, we have two benefits always. One is that people do get time and Another is that people don't try to make it on time because it's a Saturday afternoon. So that's what we are seeing also just now. But let me welcome all of you as delegates. And to start with, let me welcome Mr. Jha, who's the chief guest of the day from PFC, Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Jha, uh, Mr. Ambikanand Jhaji also, General Manager, Zonal Head, UCO, Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, who's from JK Tire. He's representing our founder member, Mr. Raghupat Singhania ji also here specifically. Mr. S.R. Meena, General Manager, SIDBI. Mr. Mukesh Mohanji, the President, Chamber of Indian Micro Small Medium Enterprises. Ms. Manushri Sagar, the Vice President of ICRA. Ms. Ritu Prakash Singh, the AVP of MSME Research for UGRO. Mr. Goel, Mr. Dev Prakash Goel is the co-chair of our MSME committee. Mr. Sethi, Mr. Ashish Agarwal, Dr. Ranjit Mehta, other dignitaries present on both sides of the dais. There are lots of people from the industry. Mr. K.K. Agarwal ji is here, and I see a lot of people from MSME, our former chairs of the bank, two chairs of the bank present today. Mr. Ram Prakash ji, and also our Girotra ji is also here. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all on this Saturday afternoon. The topic for the day, which is the credit enhancement, propelling the growth of Indian economy, I think a very pertinent topic for today, because as India propels and tries to grow into an emerged economy, credit will have to play a very important backbone. And the idea of getting this conglomeration at PhD Chamber was to bring at one platform, on one hand, the rating agencies, the banks. So if you would see that we have, starting from State Bank of India being directly represented by our chair, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar himself, the PNB, the UCO, and the MSME, the NBFCs, which is rather, we were just discussing separately a few moments ago that NBFCs are actually eating into the pie of the loans and the facilities being provided to the industry for their growth more and more. UGRO is here, and so the rating agency, the banks, the NBFCs, the financial institutions, SIDBI and PFC, and a diaspora of the industry cut out from the micro, small, medium enterprises, the emerging corporates, our dear farmers, bringing the agrarian flavor, the emerged corporates, I would say, and the infrastructure segment companies from logistics and others. So I think the idea today is that all of you come together, bring out, the industry brings out this problem, the solutions and the innovative thought process, which the lenders actually want to share with you, are also shared. Sometimes very, very common problems are actually brought out that, there is a advertisement, or there is a conveying that, the bankers are wanting to give up to a particular level of loans very easily. I would request that you please try and understand from the bankers here how this loan is being given, how it is going to be easily dispensed to you. So that is one of the objectives. So there are two sessions. One will be the inaugural, and followed by a technical session. So both put together, we will try to deliver this to you. It's not hidden from you that PhD Chamber has regularly been focused on the banking, financial services, and the insurance solutions for the industry at large. We are a 118-year-old chamber, as you're all aware, and are about to do our AGM, which I'm sure most of you have blocked your calendars for. And as a voice of industry and trade, more than this year, I think before, I would say, in continuation to all the years before, but more powerfully in this year, we've actually emerged as the front-ranking voice for this segment of the industry, which needs its voice to be heard in the corridors of power more and more, the micro, small, medium, and the emerging corporate. So that's what PhD brings on table. And I really invite all of you today to kind of extract the best out of this present learned set of people on both sides of the dais, the industry and the others. And the way the format that we would like to keep, I would like to introduce is that maybe first the industry brings out the challenge, and then the lenders bring out their solutions and everything. You would obviously get some questions in your mind. I would request if you can note it down. And our Babita ji and Sanjay ji are here, part of the secretariat, who have put in a lot of efforts to put this program together. They would collect those questions from you, bring it over to us, and we will appropriately get them discussed in the panel discussion. After the opening remarks, we will do a panel discussion and open the floor participation thereafter, and then try and make it a more meaningful session for you. So with that, I really invite you to this conference, and would look forward to a great interactive participation from you, all of you on both sides of the dais. Thank you very much. I invite you all. So with this, I think, let me invite Rajneesh ji, our chair of the Banking and Financial Services Committee. He's also the former chairman of State Bank of India, one of the biggest, the tallest banker known to all of us. A round of applause for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. So, all the distinguished guests on the dais and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, my compliment to Sanjeev Gupta and his team for organizing this event. The topic is very relevant and timely. We have the ambition, and our Prime Minister has laid down that ambition, that India, we should become a developed country by 2047. And that would mean that our GDP, which is little over 3.5 trillion, should become around 14 trillion or more. And it is expected that India will be third largest economy after China, USA. And the way things are going, we may throw a surprise also and become number one. The role of credit and the growth in GDP, both are related. And internationally, the experience of the countries is very different. So just to give you a few numbers, India, our credit to GDP ratio, it is 55%. China is 279%. World average is 148%. So this number itself tells that we are under-penetrated as far as credit is concerned. And there is a lot of effort also from everyone to improve the credit flow. We may discuss today about maybe only MSME or mid corporates, but the fact of the matter is that we need to step up the credit flow or credit penetration at least to 100% if GDP has to grow at a faster. Credit means what? It's money for investment. And if the GDP growth has to be higher, obviously the pace of investment has to be higher. Even in the current scenario, what is happening, that most of the investment and heavy lifting, when we talk about capex or infrastructure, it is still happening by the government and not by the private sector. There is a talk that there are some green shoots and private sector investment may now follow. But currently, this is the situation. Particularly about MSME, I will share a few thoughts because there is a very impressive panel lined up and from different stakeholders to discuss the issue. There are a lot of push factors. So push is coming from the government, from Reserve Bank of India. Many institutions have been created. You have CGT MSc scheme, you have SIDBI, whose representative is sitting here. There have been ample number of committees also to deliberate on the issue of how to improve flow of credit. There are like incentives in by way of priority sector lending targets. So there is an incentive and there is a sort of a, like again, a push factor. So that needs, and we need extra effort. And at the same time, there has to be a pull factor also. So I didn't want to answer Saket in the closed room discussion. I said I will answer you when we discuss it in the forum. So how do we create the pull factor? And whether there is a change in those factors. So the biggest change which is happening is around digitization and formalization of it. When that happens, the flow of credit from banking sector, formal sector, to the formalized economy will improve. It's not that right now credit is not available. Let us understand that. What we are talking about is the credit from the formal sector. I was going through one of the committee reports, a standing committee, which is chaired by Mr. Jayant Sinha. So it says that for MSME, the requirement of credit is 69 trillion rupees, 69 lakh crore. The formal banking system has lent about 23 lakh crore. So it doesn't mean that that gap, nobody is filling that gap. Somebody is filling. But it is natural also because our economy also was not formalized. That formalization is happening now. And there are, as I said, there are a couple of factors. One is introduction of GST, and demonetization was another, plus digitization. Because so today, many companies, I chair the board of Bharat Pay, you have a representative from Grow Capital. So we lend money only on the basis of cash flow, which we capture and we recover our loan from that. Very simple model. And we lend to those people who otherwise will not get the money from the formal banking system. That is where there is a space which is being filled by fintechs like Bharat Pay or Grow or likes of Paytm. So things are changing for India. And the going forward, particularly for the particular size of loans, which are not very large value or high value loans. It will be all digital lending. Because as I said, that a very big digital ecosystem is emerging in the country based on the payment infrastructure which has been created, the GST network which has been created. So if lenders' perspective, if information is available about your turnover, when I have access to your GST data, I have idea about your income through your ITR returns. I have idea about your credit history through credit reports, CIBIL, or they are available. And all are available at a click of a button. And then you are having account aggregators, which is taking shape, which will democratize credit. So I don't foresee a problem that there will be an issue around the availability of credit, particularly a small ticket size. The issue will come where the human interventions come. And if it is a project loan, then there is an issue. You can't do it digitally. Then the human intervention and human intelligence will come in. So whenever we are talking about credit, we have to do some sort of a segmentation. So where today, as I said, that credit, everybody would be flooded in this room. At least I get a lot of calls, this thing, आपका car loan ले लीजिए, घर का loan ले लीजिए. So that is very natural. But when it comes to you want to put a project of 30 crore, then what happens? Then you will find suddenly there are not many people who are willing to give that type of credit or give it in a timely. So when we are debating today, and many experts are here, so I'm just setting the agenda that what are the issues which will come. And as I said that from lenders' perspective, having chaired the State Bank of India for 3 years and having served it for 40 years, banks are there to lend, but they want their money back, unfortunately. But that is where the problem sometimes. So whenever the lenders are appraising projects, what they are trying to determine is that if I give money, whether it will come back or not. And there was a time till 90, there was no concept of NPA, nothing. But now things are different. The expectations, performance expectations, those are different. But two things are, as I'm saying, and I will end with that, is that we are a under-penetrated credit country. So credit penetration has to improve. And then it will be segment. We can't brush it together. Infrastructure financing, where PFC director projects is sitting. Project financing is altogether different ball. Lending for personal loan today, personal loan, no problem. Credit card, housing loan, car loan. I tell you, in the bank, everybody is happy doing housing loan, car loan, and credit card. If you ask somebody, there was a time, and this is my final suggestion. There was a time when I was in credit department of the bank, and we used to take pride that you are a good person. That's why bank has decided to put you in credit department. As chairman, I had to create an incentive scheme to attract people and talent to work in the credit department. So in 30 years, the scenario has completely changed. So today bank gives incentive to attract people to work in the credit department. What was to say, if I can do housing loan, car loan without any accountability, why should I do something where I don't know where my neck will be thrown? So that is another issue. So there are many such factors, and it's a very sort of a, I would say, topic which you can go on discussing for hours and hours. So if the panel is able to do justice within the limited time which it has, and if some conclusions can be drawn, then it will be a very good initiative and successful initiative by PhD Chamber of Commerce. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. As usual, sir, I'll tell you one thing. For me, it's always been an education listening to you, sir. The way you've simplified credit, sir, I think it can be summarized in 2 lines. The credit is what the lenders want to give, and they want something very simple on it. They want their principal back, and they want a return called interest on that. So that's how simple credit is to a lender. You've also clarified it so simply that actually the industry also wants something, which is very beautifully, they want the loan without a bother really to actually return it. That's where what we are trying to deliberate today, sir. So I think it will be really a fun exercise, I would say, more than anything else, for most of you to listen to this panel, which has been so beautifully put together by our learned team here, part of PhD Secretariat, Babita ji and Sanjay ji. So I would say, please try and extract the maximum on the same lines that have been set on tone by our learned chair banking, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. With that, I think I would like to say this way, that I would request each one of you to give the opening remarks. As part of the opening remarks, my request would be that you introduce yourself the best way, your organization, where your organization is and where you think it's going. Most important, what do you really feel that as a lender or as a borrower, what is your key requirement or challenge? Sorry. I'm told the president wants to speak first, which is generally not his style. He's always wanted. His standard requirement from each committee is that he would like to keep listening, and only then come up with his comments. But I think you will have to wish his father a great birthday today. At the same time, he's actually running against an odd that his father is not well. So I call all of you to pray for his father's health also. But this is one of the unique times when the president is actually requested to speak a little before he's heard everyone else. So I have the privilege of actually inviting Saket ji. In spite of all the troubles that he was going through, I must thank him that for the benefit of this deliberation, he's come all the way to be here. Saket Dalmia ji, the youngest, the most dynamic, and the most famous president PhD has ever seen. I invite him for his presidential address. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My apologies for pushing in. So first of all, thank you, Rajesh ji. I really look up to him as one of the icons in the Indian financial industry and history, I think. And I think it's pretty evident from the way he just spoke about the big picture. Dear Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Jha ji, Ambika Nand Jha ji, and everybody else on the dais and friends, I think today's discussion is very, very important, pertinent. And as Rajesh ji mentioned, that we are trying to do a lot at the chamber in terms of pushing the formalization of the economy, because as he said that till you don't capture that, you cannot enable a lot of things. Having said that, the PhD chamber has always been known for its strength of middle market companies, constituting companies which are small, micro, medium, and the next big companies around the corner. We will all agree that looking at the way the GDP numbers are indicating, the way consumption is going up, production is going up, whoever is here, whoever is today manufacturing or giving a service, they are doing so because they have something good about them. We are in many ways a very, very open economy, not protected like many other economies in the world, like China and so forth, where there is a political overhang. Today, either you perform or you perish. We feel competitiveness, even though we could be the number one producer or brand in whatever we do, we still know that maybe one quarter away, we might not be so. So having such a landscape around us in terms of pure open competition, the requirement for credit to grow, to do the next best thing to survive, to have that edge, to be able to scale for sometimes economy, sometimes for new technology, money required at the right time and the right amount is critical, even for those who want to pay it back. So how to enable that? How do we systemize that? As Sir said, there human intervention, human intelligence is required, and both sides need to be common stakeholders in that. There is no perfect science. There has to be an intention to start off with. It has to percolate from the top. The government has given us signals by the finance minister saying that, hey, if you want to give more money, you can only give it to MSMEs. I'm going to give so much of capital to you to only employ in MSMEs. And that's one of our huge initiatives, I think. For a few years, I've been knocking on the doors to the RBI, to the CEA, everybody, that bankers have a big problem that they need to do collective banking, because when they want to do an individual call, the NPA hangover stops them from doing so. So what do we do that they feel that यार ये बंदा आ रहा है मेरे पास, इसका business बढ़िया है, मैं इसकी रोज banking देख रहा हूँ, orders देख रहा हूँ, I know this person's business, मुझे इसको पैसे देने हैं, इसके जो collateral है वो justify नहीं कर रहा है, जिस speed में जाना चाहता है मेरा banking मुझे नहीं allow कर रहा. What do we do? There is no clear-cut solution. There has to be an intention. There has to be a recognition and reward to a person that you must go and get this account. I think that's one part. The second part, I think, is the government's desire to participate in this. I had the privilege of meeting the Reserve Bank of India governor 10 days ago. And I told him, sir, you were like a rock star. You reminded me of Alan Greenspan during my college days in America. You took tough calls. You came out to give a statement during COVID. You gave the ECLGS scheme. और उसका निष्कर्ष ये है कि पैसे सबने ले लिए, सबने सैलरी में बांट दिया. अब ये सिचुएशन ये है कि कुछ डेथ बेड में है, कुछ लंगड़ा रहे हैं. तो बोले यार जो डेथ बेड है उसको तो जाना पड़ेगा. मतलब एग्जैक्टली, तो उसको पहले तो आप इनेबल करो. आपने आईबीसी लाए, एनसीएलटी लाए, छोटे कंपनियों को भी किल होने दो जल्दी से, और उसका पर्सनल गारंटी को इनकैश मत होने दो, कोई रास्ता बनाओ आप. जैसे एंटरप्रेन्योर लाइफ लॉन्ग ना मरे ना, वो ड्रैग क्यों कर रहा है? क्योंकि उसका नाम खराब हो जाएगा. उसका नाम को प्रोटेक्ट करते हुए लेट इट गो बैंकरप्ट. He said a good point. What else? I said, कि सर इंडस्ट्री को पैसा चाहिए ग्रो करने के लिए, एमएसएमई को इंडस्ट्री चाहिए, वर्किंग कैपिटल चाहिए. बोला आई वांट टू गिव वर्किंग कैपिटल, गिव मी सॉल्यूशंस. My request to this esteemed panel today is that being on the side of the people who give credit, what are the things you would like the government to enable, to us to enable, to make this journey quicker for people to get working capital, to get project capital to grow their businesses. I think this is the most important discussion. I wish that we are able to participate in more today. We have stakeholders right from a credit rating person to a project financing person to commercial banking. We have the entire spectrum here. My request would be to come out with something conclusive or suggestive, and we can go back to the Reserve Bank of India and say, here we are, let's try to do this more. So with those few words, I wish this evening all the best and request to excuse me because of a medical problem at the home. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajesh, you always. My pleasure.
Thank you, President Sir. I think I would call upon all of you to wish his father a speedy and a safe recovery. With these words, I would request if Manishri, you would present a little bit about, I would say typically if you can cover credit expansion and what, as a rating agency, how you see that what's happening across and where do you see it going? What are the challenges? What maybe if you have some suggestions on the solution as well, please feel free, the dais is all yours.
Thank you so much, sir, and good evening, everyone. I'm Manushri, and I work with ICRA Limited. I've been a rating analyst for the last 17 years, and I've been looking at financial sector ratings largely. So while I look forward to hear from the practitioners here, but I think broadly what I can do is give you some of the observations that we have when we've been looking at this industry for some time now. So I'm specifically focusing on the MSME sector. So while overall, yes, credit has been growing quite well in last year, and our expectation is that this year also it should be pretty good, both from the banking sector as well as the non-bank sector. Obviously, Sir did allude to that earlier, that specifically on the MSME sector, NBFCs have been making a lot of inroads, and they've kind of taking over some of the, if I may put it that way, some of the segments which possibly the bankers were not touching, or were not able to kind of look at it from that perspective because it was a niche and the understanding required was far more deeper. So what we've seen is that loans to the MSME sector have actually grown at a much higher pace than even the industry. Our estimates is it's upwards of 25-30% that they've been growing, and possibly will continue to do so in this year as well. What we also seen as a trend is that earlier a large part of that was secured and possibly largely a mortgage-backed kind of a loan, and in most cases, the residential property of the promoters. But incrementally, lenders are more open to possibly look at unsecured also as a offering, because like again, the collateral is limited. And if the promoter had that kind of a collateral, possibly they would not be searching for credit to that extent. So that is another area that is kind of coming up quite significantly. At the same time, what we see is that it's not that these entities are kind of taking the risk unnecessarily. And what has changed from possibly last time is that earlier when entities did face some of the issues in the segment, is that there is a lot of, again, a lot of data availability, which is now being, used by these entities. There is India Stack, which everybody is kind of using, whether it's, again, Sir did mention about it in terms of, GST returns being available, you have income tax returns available, and you have a lot of surrogates that the entities are looking at in terms of making an assessment. So that has become one major data point which has helped these entities. Similarly, I think there's a lot of bureau data which is being available, which is got deeper with time, and hence are helping these entities make those calls. And how it has possibly helped the lenders also is that the turnaround times have improved, at least from that perspective. And this is what we hear from a lot of our rated companies actually is that from a borrower perspective, it's pretty important that you tell them that whether you want to even lend to them or not, because from their point of view, it's their business call. They have to go forward on that. So that is one trend that again we are seeing. If possibly, if I can kind of dwell a little into the portfolios of these entities and some of our again observations there. These entities as of now are looking at slightly smaller ticket. They are still reluctant to go to possibly larger ticket loans, and possibly that was the one of the questions that possibly we need larger ticket loans or some for some of those MSMEs and smaller. But right now, I think they are building up their own databases, each of the entities, learning from their current lending operations. And so right now, it's possibly under that 50 lakhs to a crore kind of a thing is where they're more comfortable with, but gradually expanding. Again, the IRRs tend to be high, which in our view is also a concern when it comes to the borrowers, because obviously we are right now in a high interest rate regime. And that is one monitorable even from our point of view, because we'll have to see how that kind of pans out in their overall cash flows. Another trend is that while they had started with slightly shorter tenor loans, most of the entities have now started going towards slightly longer term loans, possibly going up to 18 months to 3 years gradually. But again, that's a change which is gradually happening. So you did talk about, what are some of the monitorables that we would possibly look at. So one thing that as a rating agency, I think we are observing is that the churn is very high in these books for most of the lenders. And that's quite, reflected in the disbursements being much higher than the portfolio. Possibly there is a bit of prepayment that happens. There is a bit of movement between lenders that happens because the segment is sensitive to interest rates. So, but we'll have to see how that pans out in terms of, the loans moving from one lender to the other. Also, again, from a secured lending point of view, we've seen real estate prices have started going up. So to that extent, obviously, there is a bit of a requirement on an ask from a top-up or a higher loan on the same property point of view. So I think I'll leave it at that some of the monitorables from our end would be around the fact that how the churn works, how the interest rates get handled, and also while delinquencies currently are fairly under control, but that's on a very high growth book. So we'll have to see it from that angle as well, from a lender's health point of view. Possibly I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Manushri. So that was really very crisp and very nice to start with. Let me now first start with industry perspective, as I was saying. So in that series, I would like Mr. Dev Prakash Goyalji, our own chair MSME, and also the CMD of Madhu Group to come in and give his perspective and the challenges that he sees. Please.
Dignities on the dais, off the dais, and my friends from the village. I am very happy to see कि हमारे गांव से कुछ लोग आए हैं आज अपनी समस्याओं का समाधान ढूंढने के लिए, अपनी समस्याएं हमारे बैंक के लोगों को बताने के लिए. आई एम सो हैप्पी आप सब लोग आए, अपना टाइम आपने निकाला. थैंक यू वेरी मच. मैं फर्स्ट जनरेशन का एंटरप्रेन्योर हूँ. 15 साल नौकरी करने के बाद मैंने 1986 में अपना काम शुरू किया. आज मेरी स्ट्रेंथ जो है वो 400 लोगों की स्ट्रेंथ है. एंड इन द कमिंग 3 years we are going to have more than 600 workers with us. Now this is the first generation entrepreneur, and why and how we have achieved it is something we can discuss later on. इस इंडस्ट्री को शुरू से यहाँ तक लाने के लिए क्या क्या हमें करना पड़ा और क्या क्या चैलेंजेस हमारे सामने आए और क्या चैलेंजेस आज की डेट में हमारे सामने आ रहे हैं, मैं ब्रीफ में इसके बारे में आप लोगों को बताना चाहूँगा. और पैनल डिस्कशन में वो सब पॉइंट में अपने बैंकिंग फ्रेंड से डिस्कस भी करना चाहूँगा. सबसे पहला पॉइंट ये है कि वर्किंग कैपिटल की हमेशा ही स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री को प्रॉब्लम रहती है. और वर्किंग कैपिटल को हम किस चीज़ के लिए कब इस्तेमाल करते हैं, ये टाइम टू टाइम हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट चेंज होती जाती है। सबसे पहली बात है, बैंक से जब हम क्रेडिट लेते हैं तो सीसीली बैंक हमको जो देता है वो हमारी बैलेंस शीट के बेस पे, कोलेटरल के बेस पे हमको देता है। जब मैं बैंक के पास जाता हूँ कि साहब मेरे को अपना बिजनेस ग्रो करना है और मेरे को कुछ लोन और चाहिए, तो मुझे बताते हैं कि आपकी बैलेंस शीट के हिसाब से हम आपको एक नया पैसा भी एक्स्ट्रा लोन नहीं दे सकते। अगर आपको एक्स्ट्रा लोन चाहिए तो कितना कोलेटरल आप हमको दोगे, क्या सिक्योरिटी श्योरिटी आप हमको दोगे। ये बैंक का, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से गवर्नेंस है, उनका दोष नहीं है। उनके रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस में ही ऐसा लिखा है, या वो इसके बेस के ऊपर ही आपको लोन दे सकते हैं। मेरा मानना ये है कि अगर मैं बैंक से 15 साल से ऑपरेशन कर रहा हूँ, इस 15 साल में अगर मेरी कंपनी ने हर साल प्रॉफिट शो किया है, इस 15 साल में बैंक की हर इंस्टॉलमेंट मैंने टाइम पे दी है, मैंने अपना जीएसटी, इनकम टैक्स, पीएफ, ईएसआई हमेशा टाइम पे जमा करा है, एक दिन का भी उसमें डिले नहीं है, तो क्या बैंकिंग को ये देखना नहीं चाहिए कि मेरे जो ऑपरेशंस है या मेरी जो इंटेंशंस है वो सरकार के प्रति क्या है, देश के प्रति क्या है, अपने लोगों के प्रति क्या है। तो क्या हम इसको अपना कुछ बेसिस ऐसा बना सकते हैं कि बैलेंस शीट के अलावा भी हम इंडस्ट्री को ग्रो करने के लिए इस तरीके का कुछ प्रोविजन बनाए कि जिससे हम इंडस्ट्री को एडिशनल लोन दे सकें। वर्किंग कैपिटल के लिए जब मैं बात करता हूं तो पहले हमारे यहाँ चेक क्लियरिंग जो टाइम था वो फिजिकल चेक बैंक में जाता था, रिजर्व बैंक को जाता था, क्लियरिंग में 2 या 3 दिन का टाइम लगता था, जो आज भी लगता है। डिजिटाइजेशन होने के बाद में सिचुएशन पहले से ज़्यादा खराब हो गई है। क्यों खराब हुई है? पहले मैं बैंक के पास जाता था, साहब मेरा ये 10 लाख रुपए का चेक है, मेरे बैंक में चेक लगे हुए हैं, मेरा चेक आप परचेज कर लीजिए। ब्रांच मैनेजर की पावर थी, वो चेक परचेज करके मेरे चेक पास कर देता था। आज के टाइम में डिजिटाइजेशन होने के बावजूद वो मेरा चेक परचेज नहीं कर सकता। चेक क्लियरिंग में जाएगा, क्लियरिंग में तीसरे दिन उसका क्रेडिट आएगा। अगर मैंने 12 बजे से पहले चेक बैंक में जमा करा दिया, अगर मैंने 2 बजे चेक बैंक में जमा किया तो चौथे दिन आएगा। अगर सैटरडे संडे छुट्टी हो गई या जिस स्टेट का वो चेक है वहाँ छुट्टी हो गई तो उसमें 3 या 4 दिन और लगेंगे। तो जो चेक मुझे एक दिन में पेमेंट मिलती थी मेरी वर्किंग कैपिटल के लिए, या अगेंस्ट चेक परचेज और अगेंस्ट क्लियरिंग भी चेक पास होता था, ये दोनों प्रोविजन आज की डेट में खत्म हो गई हैं। तो मेरा पहला सजेशन ये है कि जब डिजिटाइजेशन हो गया, चेक को फिजिकली जाना ही नहीं है, तो why it cannot be given a credit within 24 hours? And if this is done, तो वर्किंग कैपिटल की जो प्रॉब्लम है काफी हद तक स्मॉल और माइक्रो इंडस्ट्रीज की सॉल्व हो जाएगी। बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज को फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, लेकिन छोटी इंडस्ट्रीज को, जिनको बैंक से क्रेडिट लेना है या नहीं लेना है या अपना पैसा ऑर्गेनाइज करना है, उनको इस चीज का बहुत बड़ा फर्क पड़ता है। सो एक तो क्रेडिट लिमिट जो है वो जब बैंक डिसाइड करता है तो परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द ऑपरेटर, परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द कस्टमर को बेस मान के अगर वो डिसाइड करें तो प्रॉब्ली दिस प्रॉब्लम कैन बी सॉल्व। दूसरी चीज़ है कि जब मैं क्रेडिट लेने जाता हूँ बैंक से एडिशनल क्रेडिट मांगता हूँ, मैं क्यों मांगता हूँ? इंजीनियरिंग इंडस्ट्री के अंदर जब हम कोई अपनी आइटम टेस्ट कराने के लिए CPRI या कहीं जाते हैं तो एक एक टेस्ट में 5 से 10 लाख का खर्चा है। 20 रेटिंग अगर हैं तो समझो मेरे को 1 से 2 करोड़ रुपया वहाँ टेस्टिंग चार्जेस देने पड़ते हैं। ये टेस्टिंग चार्जेस के लिए कोई बैंक हमको फाइनेंस नहीं करता, ये वर्किंग कैपिटल से पैसा निकल जाता है। तो क्या हम ऐसा कोई तरीका ढूंढ सकते हैं जिससे कि टेस्ट चार्जेस जो हमने गवर्नमेंट को दिए हैं उसको बैंक हमें फाइनेंस कर दे, या हमारी जो क्रेडिट लिमिट है उसके अंदर इसको ऐड करके और क्रेडिट लिमिट को एक्सटेंड कर दे। ये एक पॉइंट हमारा है जो मैं डिटेल्स में फिर डिस्कस करूंगा। मल्टी बैंकिंग अगर गवर्नमेंट अलाउ करे, चेक डिपॉजिट करने में मान लो 3 दिन में चेक पास होता है और मुझे अलाउ कर दिया कि 3 या 4 बैंकों में मैं खाली और फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ डिपॉजिटिंग द चेक एंड गेटिंग क्लियरेंस, इफ आई एम अलाउड टू डू मल्टी बैंकिंग, देन 3 दिन 4 दिन का जो क्रेडिट टाइम लगता है वो रिड्यूस होके 1 दिन पे आ जाएगा या 1 घंटे में आ जाएगा, एंड दैट मनी कैन बी ट्रांसफर टू माई CC अकाउंट। इससे हमारी जो प्रॉब्लम है मल्टी बैंक ये चेक क्लियरिंग टाइम की, दिस प्रॉब्लम कैन बी सॉल्व। बीजी लिमिट, बैंकों ने बीजी लिमिट और सीसी लिमिट जो हमारी जो एलसी लिमिट है वो डिसाइड की हुई है। मैनी टाइम्स अगर हमें किसी पार्टी से एडवांस मिलता है अगेंस्ट बीजी, तो बैंक हमको बीजी कहता है जी आपको लिमिट बीजी खत्म हो गई है, तो 100% आप एफडी कराएंगे तो आपको बीजी लिमिट मिलेगी। तो दैट डिस्करेजेस अस फ्रॉम टेकिंग एडवांस फ्रॉम द पार्टीज अगेंस्ट आवर ऑर्डर्स। सो बीजी लिमिट में कुछ फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी अगर दे दी जाए तो प्रॉब्ली ये प्रॉब्लम का भी कुछ ना कुछ सॉल्यूशन हमारा निकल सकता है। कितने ही इंडस्ट्री एरियाज में ओरिजिनल जो कॉस्ट है वो मान लीजिए 1200 रुपये मीटर के हिसाब से हमको कोई प्लॉट अलॉट हुआ है, एनहांसमेंट कॉस्ट करते करते 2,500 या 3,000 रुपया जब आती है 5 साल 10 साल 15 साल के बाद में एनहांसमेंट कॉस्ट जब देनी पड़ती है तो उसके लिए कोई बैंक हमको फाइनेंस नहीं करता, जबकि ये पैसा फिर गवर्नमेंट को जा रहा है। तो वो पैसा वर्किंग कैपिटल से जब निकलता है तो वर्किंग कैपिटल के ऊपर एक बहुत बड़ा स्ट्रेन आता है। उसका कोई सॉल्यूशन बैंक वाले अगर निकालें तो प्रॉब्ली एमएसएमई की कुछ प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सकती है। R&D के लिए जो हम लोग पैसा खर्च करते हैं तो R&D के पैसे में जितना भी हम डेवलपमेंट करते हैं उसमें जो पैसा इन्वेस्ट होता है उसके लिए बैंक से हमें कोई फैसिलिटी या एक्स्ट्रा क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता है। सो वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ द एक्स्ट्रा क्रेडिट और लिमिट फॉर द एंटरप्रेन्योर्स। तो उसके लिए भी अगर कोई प्रोविजन ऐसी मिले कि इसको हमारी सीसी लिमिट में उसको ऐड करके एडिशनल लोन दिया जाए तो आई थिंक दिस कैन बी सॉल्व। बाकी बहुत सारे ऐसे इश्यूज हैं जो वी कैन डिस्कस 1-to-1 विद द बैंकर्स एंड प्रॉब्ली ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट ए सॉल्यूशन फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ द इंडस्ट्रीज। जो हमारे माइक्रो स्मॉल इंडस्ट्रीज, जो हमारे विलेज के अंदर जो हमारी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, वी आर कनेक्टेड विद मोर देन 80 विलेजेस। वहाँ जो छोटे छोटे किसान हैं या छोटे छोटे जो काश्तकार हैं उनको हम किस तरीके से लोन दें, किस तरीके से उनकी समस्याओं का समाधान करें। सरकार ने बहुत अच्छी अच्छी पॉलिसी बनाई है। विश्वकर्मा पॉलिसी गोइंग टू बी लॉन्च्ड ऑन 17th September, pmvishkarma.government.in। उसके अगेंस्ट 1 लाख रुपए तक का लोन हर छोटे काश्तकार को मिलेगा ऑन 5% इंटरेस्ट। लेकिन हम गांव के लोगों तक पहुंचे कैसे, ये एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या है। तो मेरा बैंकर्स को एक ये सजेशन है कि अगर जो बैंक्स एमएसएमईज को या एग्रीकल्चर को या किसानों को या गांव वालों को जो भी सुविधा दे सकते हैं या जो सरकार ने अनाउंस की है, अगर इसका कोई बोर्ड बना करके, डिस्प्ले बोर्ड बना के गांव की पंचायत में रखा जाए या गांव के कॉमन प्लेस पर रखा जाए तो प्रोबेबली लोगों को इसके बारे में एक अवेयरनेस आएगी। रोज रोज बोर्ड को पढ़ेंगे तो उनको पता लगेगा कि हमको बैंक से क्या सुविधाएं मिल सकती हैं। तो वी कैन प्रोबेबली रीच द विलेजर्स, जिसको मैं नाम देना चाहूँगा सरकार आपके द्वार। हम किसानों तक, गांव के लोगों तक पहुँचे, उनको बताएं कि आपके लिए सरकार ने ये सुविधाएं दी हैं, इसका आप अवेल करिए, इसका फ़ायदा उठाइए, और जिससे कि बैंक वालों को कस्टमर मिलेगा। एक कैंप अगर बैंक वाले लगाते हैं ऑन द स्पॉट टू ओपन द अकाउंट ऑफ द विलेजर्स एंड गिव देम द लोन फैसिलिटी। 2,70,000 पंचायत हमारे देश में हैं। उनके जो सरपंच हैं दे आर नोन टू एवरीबडी इन द विलेज। सरपंच को हम उसका गारंटर बना के अगर किसानों को लोन सुविधा दे दें ऑन द स्पॉट विलेजेस में जा के कैंप लगा के, तो प्रबली जो सरकार का सपना है कि छोटे काश्तकारों को हम अच्छे लोन दे करके और उनके काम को हम आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं, तो एक बहुत अच्छा कदम होगा। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच। रेस्ट विल डिस्कस इन दी पैनल डिस्कशन। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your, I would say, very comprehensive observations. So let me, as we are running against time now, so let me bring in Mr. Mukesh Mohan Gupta. He's a member of PhD Chamber already. He runs, he's the president of Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises Chamber also. And I would request him to briefly bring out his observations. Mukesh, if possible, we'll try to restrict it to 4 to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Dignitaries on the dais of the dais. First of all, Sanjeev ji, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. In fact, और रजनीश जी, मैं आपको बस ये एक एश्योरेंस देना चाहता हूं कि बैंकर्स चाहते हैं लोन देकर वापस लेना, तो मेरे ख्याल में शायद मेरे जो एमएसएमई दोस्त हैं वो इस बात से एग्री करेंगे कि एमएसएमई भी चाहते हैं कि वो जब लोन ले तो समय से उसको वापस कर दें। राइट और रॉन्ग? क्योंकि ग्रो करना है हमको भी, और जब हम वापस नहीं करेंगे लोन तो अगला लोन भी नहीं मिलेगा। एंड हाउ इंपॉर्टेंट दिस एमएसएमई, सो आई विल ट्राई टू रेस्ट्रिक्ट माय address to MSME sector only. 45% of the total Indian manufacturing output. Recent data shows that 43.6% of the total exports being done by these MSME during the year 2022-23. 12.36 crore workforce. हम इमेजिन कर सकते हैं कि कितना बड़ा परिवार, मतलब एक 4 या 5 लोगों का अगर हम परिवार माने तो करीब 50 करोड़ जो पॉपुलेशन है हमारी, वो इन एमएसएमईज में वो काम के भरोसे अपना जीवन यापन कर रही है। और ये जो डाटा है, ये डाटा है ओनली फॉर द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड सर्विस सेक्टर, बिकॉज अभी तक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सर्विस सेक्टर वर कवर्ड अंडर एमएसएमई, और उसके बाद ट्रेडर्स को और जोड़ दिया गया। तो अगर उनका ये सब अगर हम कंट्रीब्यूशन ऐड करें तो ये काफी बड़ा नंबर हो जाएगा। बट स्टिल expert committee on MSME which was formed by Reserve Bank of India during 2018, उन्होंने कहा कि भाई MSME सेक्टर में जो गैप है फाइनेंस का वो 20 से 25 लाख करोड़ है। आपने तो सर और भी ज्यादा बताया, बिकॉज यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द फॉर्मल सेक्टर और इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर, बट जो फॉर्मल सेक्टर है वो तो रिपोर्ट है MSME की, जो सबसे बड़ी एक रिपोर्ट हुई, उसमें कहा गया कि 20 से 25 लाख करोड़ का जो गैप है टू फाइनेंस टू दिस MSME। और मैं रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया का डाटा देख रहा था एंड आई वाज स्लाइटली शॉक्ड। इनफैक्ट पिछले क्वार्टर में, जो फर्स्ट क्वार्टर है इस साल का, जून क्वार्टर में जो माइक्रो एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस का जो ग्रोथ है क्रेडिट की, इट इज 13% एज कंपेयर टू लास्ट ईयर ग्रोथ फॉर द फर्स्ट क्वार्टर विच वाज 29.2%। इससे पिछले महीने मैंने सोचा जाके देखूं मई में क्या हुआ। मई में इट वाज 9.5% एज कंपेयर टू 32.7% a year ago। और मैंने सोचा और पीछे देखता हूँ जरा अप्रैल में क्या हुआ था, तो अप्रैल में दिस वाज 9.7% टू माइक्रो एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस, दैट वाज द क्रेडिट ग्रोथ एज कंपेयर टू 29.8% इन द ईयर 1 year ago। सो ओनली 30-40% एज कंपेयर टू द लास्ट ईयर। और ये सब कुछ किसके बाद, जबकि हमारा जो जीएसटी कलेक्शन है द हाईएस्ट 1.59 लाख करोड़ लास्ट मंथ का। Manufacturing activity in August is the fastest in last 3 years. Manufacturing PMI is 58.6. GDP is increasing at a very good speed and maybe among the best in the world. अभी मूडी ने कल ही हमारा जो फोरकास्ट किया है वो 5.5% से बढ़ाकर 6.7% कर दिया है फॉर दिस ईयर। बट हो सकता है शायद इस क्रेडिट ग्रोथ का जो कमी हुई उसका एक शायद रीजन ये हो सकता है कि जो एमएसएमईज को फंडिंग होती है बैंक्स द्वारा, तो बैंक्स को थोड़ा डर लगता है। जैसे रजनीश सर ने भी बताया कि भाई अब क्रेडिट में काम करने के लिए लोगों को इंसेंटिव देना पड़ता है। बट दोस्तों मैं यहाँ पर एक बात जरूर कहूँगा, देखिए यहाँ पर ऐसा नहीं कि जो बैंकर्स हैं उनकी मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, बट आई एम विटनेस, और मैं एमएसएमई सेक्टर को रिप्रेजेंट करता हूँ। देयर आर सीनियर ऑफिसर्स फ्रॉम यूको बैंक, सिडबी एंड पंजाब नेशनल बैंक विच आई कैन जस्ट सी। पीएफसी में मेरा उतना कुछ अनुभव नहीं है। मैंने देखा कि ये 3 जो बैंक्स यहाँ पर या फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं वो ऐसे हैं कि अगर उनको हम कहें कि सर जो एमएसएमई है वो बाकी 6 दिन बिजी रहता है। आई हैव द एक्सपीरियंस विद द जनरल मैनेजर ऑफ यूको बैंक कि सर संडे को मीटिंग कर सकते हैं क्या? उन्होंने बोला हाँ संडे को कर सकते हैं ना, क्या दिक्कत है? तो संडे को करते हैं, जूम मीटिंग करते हैं। एंड द एंटायर टीम वाज देयर इन फैक्ट डिस्कसिंग विद द प्रोमोटर, लाइक वाइज द पंजाब नेशनल बैंक, great support. SIDBI, we have the partnership. In fact, I know their MD very closely and he's very passionate about financing to MSME. तो दोस्तों मैं अपने MSME दोस्तों को बस ये यकीन दिलाना चाहता हूँ कि बैंकर्स आपको फंड करने के लिए तैयार हैं, क्योंकि उनकी इच्छा भी है, उनको एक शायद संतुष्टि भी मिलता है जब वो MSME को फंडिंग करते हैं, और स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट भी है MSME को फाइनेंस करने के लिए। बट बैंकर्स के लिए एक अच्छी खबर भी है। वो अच्छी खबर ये है कि जो एनपीए है एमएसएमई का, इट इज 1.32 लाख करोड़ एट दिस 23 मार्च एंड, विच वाज 1.5 लाख करोड़ एक साल पहले और 2021 में था 1.82 लाख करोड़। और इसका रीजन मैं समझता हूँ कि जो बैंक्स की सपोर्ट है, जो उन्होंने हमें ECGL इमरजेंसी क्रेडिट लाइन गारंटी लोन जो दिया, शायद वो एक काफी बड़ा कारण रहा होगा। अभी स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ने एक रिपोर्ट भी जनवरी में सर एक MSME फाइनेंसिंग के ऊपर एक रिलीज की है। इट इज ए ग्रेट रिपोर्ट। इनफैक्ट मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, आप सब इसको जरूर देखें, बैंकर्स भी देखें, MSMEs भी देखें। और इस रिपोर्ट में ये कहा गया कि 14.6 लाख MSMEs अकाउंट जो थे वो इस केवल एक स्कीम की वजह से वो सेव कर लिए गए। बट फिर भी आज 99% जो यूनिट्स हैं वो माइक्रो सेक्टर में है, और हम सबकी शायद ये दायित्व कर्तव्य है कि हम उनको हैंड होल्डिंग करें। जैसे संजीव जी ने कहा, और द प्रेसिडेंट हैज आल्सो डिजायर्ड कि हम यहाँ पर कुछ ऐसे पॉइंट्स ढूंढें जिनको रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया को या मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस को हम पेश कर सकें। तो मैं चाहूँगा कि PhD की तरफ से अगर हम कोई ऐसा रिकमेंडेशन बनाएं तो कुछ 3-4 रिकमेंडेशन। एक तो ये है, जो स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ने भी कहा है कि कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट जो होती है बैंक्स की, वो CGT MSE लोन जब देता है कोई बैंक तो उसमें कम होती है, ऑलमोस्ट 25% जो बैंक की रिक्वायरमेंट है अपनी कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी के लिए। तो क्या ऐसा कुछ किया जा सकता है कि जितने भी लोन 5 करोड़ तक के MSMEs को रिक्वायर्ड हो, वो सभी कोलेटरल फ्री, जिनकी गारंटी सरकार दे रही है, CGT MSE के थ्रू किए जाए। सो मैंडेटरी फाइनेंसिंग ऑफ लोन टू MSMEs अप टू और टू माइक्रो एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेज अप टू 5 करोड़ under CGT MSE. There is a big problem of the MSMEs about the foreclosure charges कि एक बैंक अगर लोन हमें नहीं देता, हमारा लोन नहीं बढ़ाता, मे बी वी मे नॉट बी गुड फॉर हिम, तो आप उनको छोड़ दीजिए। फोरक्लोजर चार्जेज अगर हम किसी तरह वेव ऑफ कर सकें तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। देन वी आर नॉर्मली बैलेंस शीट बेस्ड फंडिंग करते हैं बैंक्स में अभी तक। द बैंकर्स आर नाउ चेंजिंग इट फ्रॉम बैलेंस शीट बेस्ड फंडिंग टू कैश फ्लो बेस्ड फंडिंग। उसके लिए मैं MSMEs को भी कुछ सजेशन जरूर देना चाहूंगा, बट बैंकर से मेरा रिक्वेस्ट ये है कि हम जितनी जल्दी, जितना तेजी से चेंज कर सकें अपनी जो पॉलिसीज हैं बैलेंस शीट फंडिंग, क्योंकि बैलेंस शीट कैसे बनती है एक MSME की, लास्ट डे आ जाता है, लास्ट डे आया रिटर्न फाइल करने का इनकम टैक्स या ROC में, तो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट फोन करता है कि भैया लास्ट डे है, जल्दी से अपनी रिटर्न फाइल कर दो, बैलेंस शीट बना दो, नहीं तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगा। वो कहते हैं अच्छा, अकाउंटेंट को बोलेंगे जाओ यार जल्दी बैलेंस शीट बनाओ। दे आर नॉट, परहैप्स मोस्ट ऑफ अस द MSMEs आर नॉट कंसर्न अबाउट आवर बैलेंस शीट, आवर प्रॉफिटेबिलिटीज, आवर रेशो। वो बैलेंस शीट बन के आई, उसने कहा कि यार प्रॉफिट जरा कम करो, टैक्स बहुत ज्यादा बन रहा है। अब उन्होंने प्रॉफिट कम कर दिया, टैक्स कम कर दिया, यहीं से मैं समझता हूँ MSME की सबसे बड़ी समस्या खत्म शुरू हो गई। हम अधिकतर MSME से कहते हैं कि देखिए आप प्रॉफिट दिखा रहे हैं, आपकी 10 करोड़ की टर्नओवर है, आप 10 लाख रुपए प्रॉफिट दिखा रहे हो, 4 पार्टनर्स हैं या डायरेक्टर्स हैं, 2.5 लाख रुपए एक का प्रॉफिट है, तो भैया जो अर्निंग है वो तो एक पियोन की सैलरी से भी कम है। सो वी आल्सो हैव टू सपोर्ट टू द बैंकर्स कि वो भी हमको लोन दे सके। एक जैसे सर ने भी कहा कि भाई आज की तारीख में मुझे लगता है बैंकर्स को बहुत ज्यादा इंफॉर्मेशन MSME से लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। सो वी कैन डू फास्टर क्रेडिट डिसीजन। GST का हमारे पास डाटा है, हमें सब पता है कि कितनी टर्नओवर है, किस किस स्टेट में कर रहे हैं, उनके जो बायर्स हैं कितने हैं, टाइमली रिटर्न फाइल करते हैं नहीं करते, कोई नॉन कंप्लायंस है या नहीं है। उन आपके पास क्रेडिट ब्यूरोज हैं, आप देख सकते हैं कि भैया कितने लोन लिए, कोई डिफॉल्ट किया या नहीं किया। आपके पास मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट अफेयर्स का डाटा है, आप देख सकते हैं कौन कौन सी ग्रुप कंपनीज उनकी है, कहाँ कहाँ डायरेक्टर्स हैं, उन सब कंपनीज की बैलेंस शीट निकाल सकते हैं, KYC वेरिफिकेशन है। सो परहैप्स यू कैन टेक ए फास्टर डिसीजन। और एक रिक्वेस्ट मेरी हमेशा से रही है बैंकर्स के लिए कि अधिकतर क्या होता है कि एक लेवल पर जब अप्रेजल होता है, उसके बाद जब नेक्स्ट हायर अथॉरिटीज के पास जाता है तो वहां वो दोबारा से कुछ अप्रेजल सिस्टम एक शुरू हो जाता है। मे बी वन DGM माइट हैव रिकमेंडेड ए प्रपोजल, और उसके ऊपर की अथॉरिटी में उनके यहाँ कोई चीफ मैनेजर लेवल के लोग दो मे बी वेरी नॉलेजेबल, बट वो स्टार्ट करते हैं। तो माई सजेशन टू द बैंकर्स विल बी कि एक बार एक अप्रेजल बन गया तो उसी को सब में पुटअप कीजिए, लेट अदर्स टेक डिसीजन ऑन दैट बेसिस। वन अनदर सजेशन आई वांट टू गिव कि भैया ये ऑफलाइन लोन एप्लीकेशन का सिस्टम ही खत्म कर दीजिए। बिकॉज आई वाज डिस्कसिंग विद रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया गवर्नर वन डे, और हमने यही पूछा कि सर लोन तो रिजेक्ट ही नहीं होते MSME के। तो ये सरप्राइज, बोले तुम MSME सेक्टर को रिप्रेजेंट करते हो, तुम बोल रहे हो MSME के लोन रिजेक्ट नहीं होते। रीजन ये है कि वो एप्लीकेशन सिस्टम में आती तब है जब सेंक्शन करना होता है। तो अगर ऐसा एक सिस्टम कर दिया जाए तो मुझे लगता है कि पहले एक एप्लीकेशन रिसीट रजिस्टर होता था, वहां पर उसमें एंट्री तब होती थी जब वो जिस दिन सेंक्शन करना है उसके एक हफ्ता पहले। क्यों सर, यू एग्री विद मी और नॉट? तो अगर ऐसा कुछ कर दिया जाए कि भाई ऑफलाइन तो हम लेंगे नहीं, मैं बैंक मैनेजर में जाता हूँ, आप हायर जो अथॉरिटीज हैं वो चाहती हैं कि ब्रांचेस करें, बट कई बार कुछ लोग चाहते हैं, कुछ नहीं चाहते, हर तरह के मेंटेलिटी है, कुछ चाहते हैं, कुछ ढूंढ रहे हैं प्रपोजल, कुछ कहते हैं कि मुझे करना नहीं है। तो अगर ऑनलाइन एक लोन एप्लीकेशन सिस्टम हो केवल, तो कम से कम ये तो पता चले कि इतनी एप्लीकेशन आई है, डिसीजन आप लीजिए बैंक एज ए बैंक बैंकर कि आपको सैंक्शन करना है, रिजेक्ट करना है, और रिजेक्ट करें तो प्लीज हमें कारण भी बता दें अच्छे से, बिकॉज परहैप्स इट विल बी ए गुड लर्निंग फॉर द एमएसएमई। पता रहेगा उन एमएसएमई को कि भाई उनको लोन क्यों नहीं मिल रहा, तो वो अपनी जो कमियां हैं उनको ठीक कर सके। एक मैं चाहता हूं कि सिबिल में कोई लिमिटेशन जरूर होना चाहिए। सिबिल मतलब जो भी क्रेडिट ब्यूरो है, अभी क्या है, कोई आदमी जैसे मेरे सामने कुछ एग्जांपल आए कि एक ने एजुकेशन जब करा था तो कोई उसने एजुकेशन लोन ले लिया, उसके बाद उस नौकरी नहीं लगी, शुरू में लगी, वो टाइम से पे नहीं कर पाया, 20 साल बाद वो बहुत बड़ा एक उसने एक एम्पायर खड़ा कर लिया, बिजनेस अच्छा चल रहा है, और वो 20 साल पुराना भी उसका डिटेल आ रहा है सिबिल में, जबकि जो सिबिल की जो रैंकिंग है इट इज बेस्ड ऑन लास्ट 3 ईयर्स ओनली। तो अगर कुछ ऐसा हो कि वो डाटा भैया उसको डाटा को ना दिखाओ बैंकर्स को कि ठीक है 3 साल या 4 साल या 5 साल जो भी आपको लिमिटेशन फिक्स करनी है वो कर दीजिए, और उससे पुरानी चीजों को जरा छोड़ दीजिए। अगर 5 साल से, जैसे सर भी बोल रहे थे कि भाई अगर मैं अच्छा बिजनेस कर रहा हूँ 5-10 साल से, तो मेरी उन चीजों को देखो, और कोई 20 साल पुराना मेरा अगर कोई है तो कहीं ना कहीं लिमिटेशन पीरियड होना चाहिए। देयर शुड बी डिफरेंट ratios relaxation particularly for MSMEs. There should be different credit rating scale for micro small medium enterprises. हम तो चाहते हैं डबल भी कर दिया जाए इन MSMEs के लिए। और सबसे बड़ी जो प्रॉब्लम है वो है लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस, विच यू राइटली टोल्ड दैट ये विश्वकर्मा जो स्कीम आ रही है अभी 1 लाख का जिसमें लोन मिलेगा 18 तरह के जो कारीगर हैं उन लोगों को, इसके लिए खैर काफी सरकार कर रही है। अभी 17 तारीख को प्रधानमंत्री जी इसको लॉन्च करेंगे। बट आई वुड लाइक टू एड्रेस वन थिंग कि हमने चैम्बर ऑफ इंडियन माइक्रो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेज ने इस अवेयरनेस के लिए 2-3 काम करे हैं। एक हमने शादी.com बनाया है, जहाँ शादी बिटवीन द बोरोवर्स एंड बैंकर्स, उसका नाम है msmeloans.co.in। ये एक पोर्टल है जहां पर हम MSME से कह रहे हैं कि भाई आपकी जो रिक्वायरमेंट है बेसिक सी चीज हमें दे दीजिए। वी आर डूइंग अवर ओन ड्यू डिलिजेंस। हम ने क्रेडिट ब्यूरो से टाई अप किया है, हम उनका जो क्रेडिट स्कोर है वो निकालते हैं, हम MCA की साइट पे जाते हैं, और कुछ और ड्यू डिलिजेंस हम करते हैं, और जो प्रपोजल्स हैं उनको हम गुड एवरेज पुअर के में कैटेगराइज करके वी शो इट टू द बैंकर्स। बैंकर्स में रजिस्टर देयर एंड दे कैन सेलेक्ट the proposals they wish to do based on their choice की लोकेशन, सिक्योर्ड, अनसिक्योर्ड, सेक्टर, NIC कोड के बेस पे हमने रखा है। तो इसमें आप शादी.com की तरह आप इसमें ये बोरोवर बैंकर की शादी यहाँ पर हो सकती है। इसके अलावा हम एक इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर चलाते हैं फॉर स्टार्टअप्स, और एक MSME हेल्पलाइन यूट्यूब चैनल है, आप में से शायद कुछ लोगों ने देखा हो। मैं कोशिश करता हूँ कि कोई स्कीम ऐसी ना हो जो इस MSME हेल्पलाइन यूट्यूब चैनल जो है उस पर ना हो। गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत काम किए हैं। CGT MSC का जो लोन है वो 2 करोड़ से 5 करोड़ कर दिया। एनुअल गारंटी फीस जो CGT MSC है उसको 50% तक ले आए हैं करीब करीब। आत्मनिर्भर भारत में फंड ऑफ फंड 50,000 करोड़ का इक्विटी के रूप में दे दिया है इन खास तौर से MSMEs के लिए। डेफिनेशन चेंज कर दी MSME की, ट्रेडर्स को इंक्लूड कर दिया MSME में। नॉन टैक्स बेनिफिट जो हैं उनको कहा कि अगर आप अपग्रेड भी हो जाते हैं तब भी 3 साल तक वो बेनिफिट आपको मिलते रहेंगे। बट फिर भी दिल मांगे मोर, हम MSMEs का हम चाहते हैं कि भैया ये CGT MSC की जो फीस है उसको और कम कर दीजिए। जो रिस्क प्रीमियम है डिफरेंट MLIs का, बैंकर्स का, वो बोरोवर के ऊपर ना डाला जाए तो अच्छा है। इसके साथ मैं चाहता हूँ IBC में हम काफी दिन से सर ये सजेशन दे रहे हैं कि आपने 1 लाख से 1 करोड़ कर दिया, इसको MSME के लिए कम से कम 10 लाख अगर किया जाए तो ज्यादा अच्छा है। बस MSMEs के लिए 2-3 सजेशन देके संजीव जी आई विल जस्ट क्लोज कि अभी तक केवल 400 के करीब कंपनीज जो BSE SME पर रजिस्टर्ड हैं। हमें सोचना चाहिए कि ऐसा क्या हुआ कि 6 करोड़ में से कुल 400 जो यूनिट्स हैं, कंपनीज हैं, वही IPO में जा पाई। हमें अपना जो फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन है उसको अच्छे से मेंटेन करके रखना चाहिए। आपकी जो बैलेंस शीट है वो बैंकेबल होनी चाहिए। अधिकतर मैं देखता हूँ कि कुछ लोग जो प्रमोटर्स हैं वो अपना पैसा अनसिक्योर्ड लोन के रूप में बैंक अपनी बैलेंस शीट में दिखाते हैं। यू इन्वेस्ट इट एज ए योर कैपिटल, तो उसकी आपकी बैलेंस शीट स्ट्रेंथन होगी, आपकी रैंकिंग अच्छी होगी, आपको कम ब्याज पर पैसा मिलेगा। और एक बात ध्यान रखनी है जरूर कि डिफॉल्ट की डेफिनेशन हमें जरूर समझनी है। डिफॉल्ट की डेफिनेशन है 1 रुपी 1 डे। अधिकतर लोग आते हैं वो कहते हैं कि नहीं नहीं कोई डिले विले नहीं है, हमारा अकाउंट NPA नहीं है, वो 5-10 दिन का तो हो जाता है। तो 1 रुपया 1 दिन भी अगर डिले हो गया तो समझिए आपको क्रेडिट मिलना मुश्किल हो जाएगा। बट आई कैन एश्योर यू फ्रॉम ऑल माई MSME फ्रेंड्स कि अगर मैं पिछले 3 दिन की अगर न्यूज़ देखूं तो जेट एयरवेज 538 करोड़, बॉम्बे रेन 7,000 करोड़, जी ग्रुप OTS अबाउट 6,500 करोड़। MSME में कम से कम ये देखने को हमें नहीं मिलेगा। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Mukesh ji. So you did exceed the time, but I think it was well justified because knowledge sessions may, I think it's always very easy to do that. But then I think I'll need your permission from all of you to extend this session for a little while, sir, because the discussion started a little late and it's still heating up. And so I hope I have your permissions to carry it beyond 4:30. The secretariat and the panelists, all of you. You have a engagement. That's why I'm looking at you, sir. Chair, sir. Sir, आपके बिना कैसे होगा? This I'm not able to. I'm in a little dilemma. So please stay back for a little 10 minutes or so, sir. Then we'll have another review on this. So I think I would request all the speakers hereafter also to be a little rational with the time. And to move forward very rapidly, I would request the views from Mr. Sanjeev Agrawal, who's representing one of the growing corporates, as we call them. So he is a chartered accountant. He's also the CFO of JK Tires. Sanjeev ji, if you can put in your views so that.
Be very brief.
Yeah, thank you. You saved that from me.
Thank you so much and good afternoon, everyone. And eminent panelist. So in fact, because I have been looking after the finance activities for the last 3 decades, more than 3 decades. So I will tell you very briefly my experience of what is happening in today's world in banking. And before that, just to tell you that I represent JK Tire, and JK Tire is a part of JK organization, which has multiple business interests in paper, cement, tires, and also agri seeds, and so many other activities. And this group has been growing and growing very fast. We have acquired multiple companies in India and abroad and turned them around very profitably in the last several years. So this tire sector, just to give you an industry perspective, is growing fast in the last 2 years. In fact, the industry has grown at about 20% plus rate. And going forward also, we are expecting that this should grow at about 8 to 10%, because the auto sector at the moment is growing very, very well and fast. And the OEM demand has been improving. The semiconductor issues which were there earlier during the pandemic, those have been resolved, and the industry is moving forward very fast. So we need financing to support the growth. Fortunately, there are large players in the industry, and majorly 4 players in the industry. Apart from us, 3 other companies are there, majorly Indian companies. So and 1 or 2 foreign companies are also there, but the industry is about 75,000 crore today, and is expected to grow to about maybe 1 lakh crore in next 2 to 3 years time. So to support those activities, we need financing. And as I said, that we are all large corporate houses. So we have been receiving good support from the banking sector, and we get good finance from all the banks. In fact, so, and same is the case with other companies also in the tire sector. 2, 3 things which I would like to highlight is that the R&D, which I think Goyal have also mentioned, that we spend a lot, because tire is a very highly technical product, and we need to continuously invest in this. And we need to invest and have R&D centers, like we have Dr. Raghupathi Singhania Center of Excellence in Mysore, and where we spend a lot of money to actually innovate new products and invest in machineries as well as the routine testing and other things. So what we have done is that we have very recently, just to give you an idea, we have launched products like smart tires, which can provide you intelligent data about the tire. We have launched very recently like extra fuel efficient tires, extra mileage tires, all those sort of tires, and also the puncture guard tires. So there's no problem of any puncture or sort of So to innovate on these kind of products, and we have to, because compete with the international markets, because the tire is imported into the country also. So we need to invest hugely in the R&D. And we see that the R&D funding is slightly not available because the companies have also formed separate companies to have these R&D activities. So that is one area which we would like to discuss, and we should actually see that this funding, R&D funding, should be provided at the earliest. The second point which I wanted to highlight is that the speed at which the banks should provide funding, timely funding, because I can tell you that about 3 decades ago, when we used to request bankers for, let's say, providing the working capital finance, it used to take about 6 to 8 months to appraise the data and CMA data and this and that. And this is not much different today, even today. So it takes a lot of time, and a lot of agencies are involved. Like agencies means that the internal people are involved at the branch level, zonal level, and then head office level. So that is okay, but I think it should be expedited. And then one thing which we have also seen always is the faster transmission of rate reduction. That should be there. Although when we see that there is an increase in the rate of interest, the transmission is very, very fast, immediate. But when the rate of interest are going down, the transmission is very slow. And this is why I am raising this point is that because now we are almost at the peak of the rate of interest, high rate of interest scenario. And hopefully in next about 6 months to 1 year, as per my understanding, the rate of interest will start declining. So at that point in time, it will become very important that the transmission should happen very fast. And one point which was raised, like about the good track record of companies for the last several years, not only 5 years or 10 years, rather we have a very good exemplary track record of more than 4 decades. And still we see some small irritants like ASM, Agency for Special Monitoring. And that is to be followed in spite of the fact that there is a stock audit, there is an internal audit, there is a statutory audit. So many audits are there. So why should those kind of irritants should be there? And similarly, there should be ease of financing, like KYC norms have become very stringent again. So those kind of issues, I think I would like to discuss with the eminent panelists and take their guidance about this. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Volume, the interest rates obviously is, and especially when it is reducing, the transmission of the same is a very big pain point. I agree with you. So I think let me bring now the lenders in the game and would request Mr. Jha to begin with his comments actually. Mr. Jha is the director project of, sorry, I should specify because there are 2 Mr. Jhas sitting on my left. And Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Jha is the director project of PFC. He's actually been part of PFC for a long time, more than 3 decades now, sir, if I'm not wrong, and almost that. So I would request if you share your thoughts and so PFC is not only graduated from being a power sector lender to a much broader lender, which I would like him to bring it out. And what all are they doing and how can the industry benefit from that? Please, sir.
So good evening and namaskar to everyone present in this auditorium. It is really a privilege to be part of this gathering and sitting amongst the eminent panelists. First of all, I would like to say that whatever we have heard from the various speakers, it seems that it is more towards MSME. And PFC is not into MSME. PFC is primarily a developmental financial institution earlier, and now it has converted more into a commercial financial institution, more into power sector. And it has been functioning for quite some time. It has been incorporated in 86, and from 88 it has started operations. And since then, it has been supporting power sector. Now, let me just start with the MSME thing. Because after hearing so many issues, problems, many things which MSME sector is facing, and definitely I personally consider that MSME is the backbone of Indian industry. If MSME prospers, the Indian industry would prosper. And whatever possible, I think government is taking all efforts to support MSME sector. So whatever is possible from banking, that support need to be extended. But a few things which I would also like to highlight is why banks are not able to process the loan proposals, the requests of MSME. Because the way you need to understand, being MSME, you need to understand and appreciate the perspective of a banker. And in order to get that, you need to have a better corporate governance. So I would request and urge PSD Chamber of Commerce to organize a session for maintaining a corporate governance for MSME. Because once they maintain, because many suggestions have been said, but I'm just summarizing it under corporate governance. If corporate governance part is taken care of, possibly banks would find it much easier to support any request. And there was one suggestion given by Mr. Gupta in his suggestion that why not and loan request be made online for MSME. But I do not know, maybe some issue, but it is a good idea. But let me tell you that in PFC, we have an online application, even if it is for 5,000 crore. So that part in PFC, we are doing it. So I'll start with now what we do in PFC. So for so many years, we have been supporting power sector, and power sector was never in a good shape. If you talk about the financial performance, even the operational performance was not up to mark. But in last 3 years, things have started changing, and it is still changing. It is still under reform. And now we are quite hopeful that things would change. So we have been supporting generation sector earlier, transmission and distribution. Now of late, you all have heard about energy transition, and energy transition is an area which is the upcoming area, most attractive area, in which renewable energy projects, electric vehicles, green hydrogen, bioethanol. I think MSME sector should also look into those areas where they can actually have early start and reap the advantage when the sector matures. They must start getting prepared for that sector. And PFC is a big institution, not as big as SBI, but definitely it is a big institution considering it is the largest NBFC, having a book size of almost like 9 lakh crore. And last financial year, in the month of August, we have also been mandated to support other infrastructure sector and logistics beyond power. And getting that mandate from the government, we have already got into roads, ports, airports, bioethanol, EVs, even green hydrogen. We have started looking at very seriously. There was a discussion prior to this panel discussion in the room, and all panelists were there. So there were views emerging. So we are getting into that. And one thing which I would tell you that, which is a very special feature in PFC, that once we decide to fund, then that particular project or the borrower is not a borrower. We do not see them as a borrower only. We see them as a partner. You must have come across, or maybe have seen many newspaper clippings in which there was a time when a lot of stress assets have come in the generation sector. Rajesh ji was very much a part of those discussions in SBI, which I was also attending from PFC. So wherever PFC has been there, most of the projects we have been either able to restructure, recover our money to a large extent, or put back those projects back on track. And when we appraise, we have that kind of technical expertise, commercial expertise, that we also suggest. Our diligence process is a very detailed one, and we look into various aspects, and it is all in-house. We don't depend on the consultants. That kind of domain expertise we have developed of late during the time. And we are going to do the same for the other sectors where we have started funding. So as a partner, we deal with the borrower. So whenever there will be issues with the borrower, after the project is completed, or even if it is not complete, how to see, our main motto is that once PFC starts funding to a project, our main objective is that project must get completed. Because if you are not able to complete the project, it is a loss for everyone, for the developer, for the lender, for the country, everyone. So there were many projects which are languishing, but we could complete them. And that is why I say that we act as a partner. Other thing is that we also understand and appreciate and acknowledge that business can't be done by a project proponent only. It also depends on the lot of external environment factors. And if those environmental factors are beyond the control of the developer as well. So it might appear to be a very good proposition, business proposition, when it developer or entrepreneur approaches a bank, but it might not actually culminate into a good business proposition, maybe 6 years or 7 years down the line. But the intent of the borrower is not to default. It is all because of the external factors. This situation has come. So as a lender, we acknowledge that, because we have faced those issues and we have been able to come over those issues. So that is where there is a partnership. So the intent is that, yes, if there are external issues, there are issues extraneous to the developer or promoter, then how to revive, how to support those projects. I think in the technical session, in our CGM would be giving you an insight on certain cases, that how we have been able to recover those things, how we have been able to keep those projects back on track, and it was in the interest of everyone. So this is basically, even I'll tell you, our recent fundings. In NCR, you are seeing Blue Smart passenger cars. PFC, as a lending institution, like normally we fund business to business, B2B. But here in this case, we have gone and funded Blue Smart. It is B2C. It is directly into retail, but there is a structure in between. And we have supported 5,000 passenger cars from Blue Smart. So we are slowly opening. Maybe there will be a time when we'll also get into that. Maybe MSME, there will be interest like energy efficiency projects. If you are putting in, PFC would be one of those organizations where you can actually come. So broadly, these are the things which I wanted to share with you as an audience. And I think the technical session which our CGM would be taking, in that he'll further give you an insight about PFC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, PhD has a plan to help you plug with the MSMEs also, sir. So you rest assured that this is part of a larger scheme actually that we are bringing you and exposing you to our members and others. So I agree with you that, a lot of innovations PhD has actually, and I have been not only practicing, but creating every day. I have been part of some of them at least, and proudly privileged to be part of that. So I think, let me now immediately bring in the other Mr. Jha, I would say, from the UCO Bank, and request him to actually share with the audience the banking perspective now to the whole credit expansion. So Mr. Jha, all yours now.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Respected guests, distinguished guests on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. UCO Bank is now 80-year-old. GD Birla ji is founded bank, and in the 80th year, we have posted our best ever profit on account of support from our stakeholders. This journey has been very beautiful. As personally, I have also worked in various fields, including international treasury from Singapore to small KCC, Bhagalpur. So that perspective is quite broadened. And I will make it also very simple also. Okay, why MSME feel that bankers are little hesitant, and why bankers feel that we are more than eager to lend and we are not getting bankable proposals. So this gap, wherever I have a discussion, I find that this gap is something is more because of lack of dialogues and right forums. So this is a right forum also where such dialogues will help us to bridge this gap. See, the most of the thing when a banker looks, as Rajni sir also pointed out, that is to get the money back. Okay, so how to get the money back is that very simple thing. Whether the project is enough to earn that much of revenue, and in what time of time, and whether business will sustain for that period or not. Suppose your time is 10 years, but you don't have enough capital to support the business for 10 years, of course it will fail. So this is one area. The bankers have also worked very closely. They have centralized their processes. Their expertise have been developed now. Branches are mostly not dealing with any big ticket loans. In most of the banks, it is centralized. So they have hubs who have the necessary expertise, understanding of lacunas in the MSMEs and how to fill that gap. So most of the banks are now into that. Why bankers look for MSME loans? Because in a retail loan, our margins are very thin. It's very thin. We are there in the retail just to be there. In a home loan at 845, and with our cost of deposit 720, you hardly earn anything. It's just because of lack of other more bankable proposals, we are into home loans and all. Rajni sir, you would agree that. And more so, for MSME, it's a little higher yielding business. And with that, we get so many other charges, other relationship, client relationship, the MSMEs, the employees business and all. So it gives us more revenue. So we are definitely as a bankers interested in MSME. The gap comes when we discuss the business proposal from the MSME. When we discuss so many things, we find that this is bankable, and the next day when the papers come, we find that there's a huge gap between what was discussed and what the paper speaks. So this gap, wherever we find is not there or very little, it's quite a bankable proposal, and bank process them very fast. Only when we find that the gap between the discussion and the papers are very wide. So there my request will be with the MSMEs that please see that you know your business, you understand your business, you are able to answer your, I mean, it's not big things, very simple things. If we ask, sir, आपका profit 10 लाख पे stagnant है 4 साल से, sales हर साल 25-30% बढ़ रहा है. If you ask answer for this, I mean, it's very difficult. कई बार बोलते हैं कि सर कैश से प्रॉफिट होता है, but how we trust that? Then that can be given, this answer can be given to everybody. So you need to come, even that also bankers take. चलिए 10 लाख आपने किया 5 साल में प्रॉफिट, आपका सेल्स 10 करोड़ से 40 करोड़ हो गया. That also we take, we understand that. But you need to give us convincing, supporting things also there, that how we trust that. Otherwise, everybody will come with that version, and then it's become very difficult. Otherwise, wherever we get reasonable answers for that thing, bankers are more than willing to understand that still we are in the process of formalization. We are not become totally formalized. Okay, when I was in Singapore, even for you buy for 50 cents, you get a GST invoice for that. We still in many times for crore also we are able to manage it. So this is one area which I would request. And another thing is that not let your CA talk to the banker. Many a times that creates the gap. If you talk, you try to understand, bankers can simplify what they require. It may not be always talking in the jargon terms. You can sit, understand what we require, and then the gap would be reduced. And the gap which many times created by the CAs with obvious reasons, that can be filled. And many proposals which we feel that is not bankable one day, but when we meet, interact with the promoter, we find that this is again, it looks like, I mean, some way out can be found. So this is one area. Then what we feel that only bankers are not responsible for poor credit offtake, if we say, although we are at a very peak time and bankers are at, once we had twin balance sheet problem, now we have a balance sheet in corporates are also very good. Banks balance sheet is also good. So this is very best time when banks are looking for lending. But thing is that when we say we sanctioned a 5 crore proposal and now a pollution control certificate is required. Okay, now the unit was running for 10 years. Now all of a sudden say, no, the policy में हमारा है pollution certificate चाहिए. अब pollution वाला एक terms दे दिया भाई साहब. वो गया inspection करने के लिए. अब वो देखा, वो तो बोला कि ये तो पूरा आपको ये करना पड़ेगा. Now the cost for doing all those things is so high that going for a new unit is better. So it is not always that and bankers cannot lend to a unit when we fully know that this is they are running without a certificate, a license. So it is not only the bankers, the whole ecosystem needs, and it is moving. It is not that it's not moving. The whole ecosystem is moving towards a scenario where things are getting better and better, but it's not an overnight journey. We have moved a lot, and going forward, definitely we'll be moving in a much faster way. But it's learning from MSMEs, it's learning for bankers also. None of us are experts. We can sit together, sit with the bankers, and most of the proposals can be tweaked and make it a banker. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I was hoping that you will address the question related to that short loan, that 510 CR. So I'll have to excuse Rajneesh now. Thank you so much, sir.
But very useful discussion.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can say.
And I wish we were to be able to take it forward. A group photo le le, sir, he said. Please, aye, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being all. So I think questions are so many that they are answered and still remain unanswered. So let me now rapidly bring in Mr. Meena, who's also representing another institution. So I think if time permitting, I'll bring Ambika Anand Jhaji once again into the discussions. But Mr. Meena is actually the general manager of SIDBI, presently heading the Northern India, New Delhi region. I request his intervention because as one of the most prominent lender to the small and medium sector, and plus not only a lender and investor also, he will probably have very interesting interventions. Sir, all yours.
Thank you, sir. Respected dais and my dear entrepreneurs, bankers. So because this is the MSME and I'm from MSME, so I will take few minutes more if you permit. So SIDBI is there for the MSME for last 3 decades, and SIDBI has evolved itself a lot. So I will discuss some of the unique products, some of the unique initiatives, and some of the broad MSME ecosystem, how SIDBI is intervening in that. That may be interesting for you also. I will start from the credit, then go to how we are promoting the industry and how we are taking the ecosystem to the policy level. So today, SIDBI is a universal bank for MSME. There is no need
which cannot be fulfilled by SIDB for a MSME. Be it setting up a new project, taking the project forward for expansion or technology upgradation, maybe for the working capital, and also for the export-oriented units. We have the products, we have the pricing which suit to you, and we have end-to-end digitization today without any offline inwarding of application, like my earlier speaker suggested that there should not be application outside the digital platform. So SIDB is not accepting any loan application manually. Now all applications are through digital mode. To start with how the smaller segment we are catering, so SIDB is now a fintech bank for MSME, and SIDB has developed a fintech platform which we call Express Loan for MSME. This loan is available through the straight-through process without any intervention of my branch manager. You can sit in your office or your convenient place, you put your data, that application will fetch the fit score, F for your financial data, I for income data, and T for transaction, your bank statement. From there, you will get your fit score, कि you are eligible for that particular loan. If you are eligible, the sanction will happen digitally. Then you have to do documentation also through digital platform. Now the number of states has come out with the digital documentation, and we are doing this digital journey. Only one unit visit is required. That is the only human intervention in that loan up to 1 crore, provided you have the fit score available with you. And this is the good fit score with them who have the good governance. Like my earlier speaker spoke, that we should look for the governance also. We have tie-up with number of OEM manufacturers. Generally, MSME purchase the machinery from OEMs, and we have tie-up with them. If you are purchasing the machines from OEM, we have the model for speedy delivery of the credit to the MSMEs. We have a product up to 7.5 crore where we can fund 100% cost of the machinery. And no immovable collateral in that case is required. This is for the energy saving project, energy saving machines, and also for the solar panels for your captive consumption. SIDB is also addressing the working capital requirement. We have tie-up with the commercial banks. We use their platform. We sanction the limit. We use their platform and provide the working capital to the customers of SIDB at affordable rates. Plus, we have the GST Sahay also. GST Sahay, some of the banks have also come up. For GST Sahay, you can get your bill discounting based on your GST invoice. That is also one of the disruption in the normal working capital system, where the credit assessment and delivery is one of the problem. So this scheme is picking up, but the start has been made. SIDB has started a special scheme for the entrepreneurs from the weaker section of the society by keeping the lower promoter contribution, concession in interest rate, and bearing the CGTMSE fee by SIDB itself for the SC and ST entrepreneurs, and also for the women entrepreneurs. So the SC, ST entrepreneurs, we have the scheme SAT, and for the women entrepreneurs, we call it Arjan. SIDB is also supporting the greenfield projects, which first time the entrepreneurs is setting up at affordable pricing and based on the requirement of the MSME. SIDB has tie-up with various multinational agencies, including World Bank, to provide affordable funding for the green and clean energy. Like solar panels, we are providing for captive consumption also, and for the RESCO model also. RESCO model, somebody is putting solar panels for you, and you are paying at the rate of the pre-decided per unit charge. That is a RESCO model, and SIDBI is supporting that RESCO model, and we are funding that also. And we are taking up some large projects on the RESCO model. So any entrepreneurs who are interested in this can also take benefit of this scheme. Like sir from the Power Finance Corporation indicated that they are supporting the EV aggregators. He has named one aggregator also. So SIDBI is also supporting the EV aggregators, and we have done few aggregators also to increase the e-mobility and reduce the carbon emission. Plus, we are providing support to the MSME units which need to change their fleet to EV. They may be having some transportation vehicles or some vehicle. If they want to change, that can be funded by SIDBI, and that collateral-free loan, 100% financing, to what model I have discussed, that is also applicable in that for that product. For the smaller segment of the MSMEs, we have one Priyas scheme, and this scheme is for the MSMEs from the bottom of the pyramid, and we are channelizing this scheme through NBFCs, in partnership NBFCs. We have also started co-lending with these fintech companies and the MSMEs, NBFCs, to increase our reach, because we have the limited reach, and we are using these companies and these platforms to increase the SIDBI's reach in the market and penetrate more for the MSMEs. For the MSME ecosystem, CGTMSE, the earlier speaking was telling, it is also outfit of SIDBI, and the limit has increased, the premium has reduced, hybrid model is there. In addition to that, we have entered with the collaboration with some of the state governments to increase the guarantee coverage. At present, CGTMSE coverage is available up to 75% of the loan amount in normal case, 80 or 85% for the women entrepreneurs, SC entrepreneurs or Northeast region. But in some of the states, including some of the developed state, the state government has come forward to increase this coverage ratio so that credit flows to those states. Tamil Nadu is one of them, West Bengal is one of them, Assam is one of them, and some 3-4 Northeast states are also there. In some of the states, this coverage ratio has increased to 100%, means no risk to a bank. And results are showing increased level of guarantee coverage in those states. And we are in discussion with certain other governments also, including the Delhi government, to increase this coverage ratio to maybe some 90% or 95%, so that the bankers come forward and give more loan to the MSME, particularly the smaller segment of the MSME, which generally face difficulty in getting credit from the normal banking channel. RXIL, you have heard, this is also one of the trades platform for the bill discounting, and this is the first trades platform floated by SIDBI. Now other platforms has also come, but this is will take time to pick up for you, because the purchasers are still getting onboarded on this platform. SIDBI also has a SIDBI Venture Special Fund, SIDBI Venture Capital, SVCL we say, that is also SIDBI subsidiary. Under this SIDBI Venture, we provide the capital equity to the startups. And India emerging as a hub of startups. So this startup ecosystem, SIDBI is supporting and providing them equity, and also the sub-debt, the debt in the form of sub-debt on the easier terms. Mudra, you are all aware, up to 10 lakh Mudra is available. That is also managed by SIDBI. SIDBI is also working as an aggregator for the MSMEs. My earlier speaker speak about the formalization of the MSME sector. A large segment of MSMEs is still not in the formal system. They are not registered, so that they are not getting the funding from the normal banking channel. So SIDBI has taken a project from the government of India to formalize these MSMEs. For my definition, formalization means, or the unit which is GST registered is formal and not registered is non-formal, for the sake of our understanding. So under this Udyam Assist platform, SIDBI is taking data from the various small finance bank, NBFCs, public sector banks, and putting those data in SIDBI Assist platform to get the unique registration generated for the MSME, so that MSME get the funding and bank get that funding coverage under the priority sector lending. This ecosystem will certainly support the MSME to get funding from the normal banking system. And the day when this informal sector come to the formal sector, I think this will be the one of the most disruption in the banking and the MSME sector. And you take the contribution manifold from these MSMEs in the times to come. And this MSME is the sector which can fulfill the ambition of the 5 trillion economy by contributing in a more increased manner. In addition to that, because SIDBI is a developmental institution, so we provide support to the MSME in whatever the way they need. We provide number of entrepreneurship development programs, micro enterprises programs. We support the MSMEs to participate in various melas and events. SIDBI is popularizing the ONDC platform. If you visit the ONDC, you will find the SIDBI field there also, and we have got some of the units registered there so that they can use this e-commerce platform to increase their business. SIDBI has also done MOU with most of the state government to support the MSME clusters. Under SIDBI cluster development program, SIDBI is funding to the state governments to increase their MSME clusters, setting up the new industrial parks. In NCR, we have tie-up with HSIDC. Some of my earlier speaker was telling about if my land cost is enhanced, no bank is coming for funding. But sir, we are coming for the funding for that. So we have tie-up with HSIDC. If you are taking the new plot, you will give 25%, 75% I will fund before you get the papers. After you get the paper, you come with the paper, I will give the second phase of the project when you construct the building and put up the machine. So that is one of the good schemes, and it is picking up here. And we are in talk with some of the other state government in my region to do the similar arrangement with the state IDCs for funding of the industrial estate and industrial plots. SIDBI is also generating various database reports which are useful for a banker and also for the MSME to know the trend, how a particular industry is behaving. So some of the reports are MSME Pulse, which we bring with the help of one of the credit bureau, how a particular sector is doing. Krishidex, which gives the index of the sector. FinTech Pulse, how the FinTech or the new age banking system is evolving and supporting the MSME in getting the credit on time and the affordable rate. Because SIDBI is a developmental institution, and being commercial is not my motto, but your development is my motto. So my pricing, I think we try to give you the affordable and the best price in the industry and try to deliver as far as it is possible. So you are always welcome to SIDBI. And I will thank PhD Chamber for giving me this platform and share my views with you. And if some of the questions, if you want to ask from me now or after the this session is over, those questions are welcome. I will try to address those. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So the way the sessions are going, I think the entire knowledge has got disbursed in this session itself. So I was just being questioned that what will you do in the technical session besides the question answers from you people? So you better be prepared a little more, because The technical session is now dependent on you people, how actively you come up with your questions. So with this, I think I have to thank SIDBI once again, and specifically represented by Mr. Meena. Thank you. And with this, let me invite Mrs. Ritu Prakash Singh. She's a very important person who looks after the MSME research investor relations at UGRO as the Assistant Vice President. Ma'am, please. So she's going to give the perspective from NBFC, which is one of the largest investor-funded NBFC. And I think it will be a very important learning for all of you present. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank the BFSI committee, PSG Chamber, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this forum. And I have been associated with UGRO Capital as a AVP MSME Research Investor Relations. And being a statistician, I have an 18 years experience in the research and development and financial modeling. So UGRO Capital is basically an fintech NBFC with an AUM of 6,777 crore. And we have been targeting to reach around 18,000 crore AUM by the end of the financial year 25. So yeah, it's true that MSME is actually the backbone of an Indian economy. And rather, I would say that it is a most important cornerstone of the India's socio-economic growth momentum. The share of the MSME's gross value added to the Indian GDP is around 30%. And the manufacturing output share is around 36%, which is a constant from throughout the 3-4 years. It has been constant to 36%. And the MSME's role in Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative has given it a remarkable progress or growth to this whole industry. We are all surrounded by the products which has been manufactured or facilitated by the MSME. Our daily needs like milk, pulses, cereals, everything has been manufactured in smaller units which are operated by the MSMEs. Even the next door Kirana store, that is also an MSME and an integral part of our livelihood. The share of MSMEs products in India exports is around 45%. And India is projecting to reach around $1 trillion value of India exports in 2030. So you can see there is a lot of scope of growth and momentum in the MSME industry as a whole. The way consumer and purchase spending has been increasing in India, I must say that it's not far that India will reach one of the top positions in the GDP in the terms of PPP. And this can be established by the fact that the latest data by the auto industry says that India is no more a small car market. Our small car segment share has been reduced from 65% to 45%. So you can see, think about that, how the Indian middle class is going to reach the upper segment of our economic segment. However, it is a universal truth that for any business to grow and expand, the financing is the most important aspect. And in India, we have around 6 crores of MSME, but still there is a 47% of the unaddressable demand which is not being fulfilled, which are not to the access to the credit just because of the lack of the credit history, the inadequate collaterals, which is making it very difficult to provide the access to these sectors. And however, the Indian government and private sectors are doing a lot of initiatives. They have launched a lot of schemes like the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, the credit guarantee, credit linked subsidy schemes, which is impactful also. And even the government has mandated to have the MSMEs have a registration, Udyam registration, so that they can get a collateral-free loans and at a very subsidized rates. But despite of that, there is a credit gap of around 20 to 25 lakh crore, which needs to be addressed at a very urgent basis. Despite of these initiatives, the conventional banks are still skeptical to provide loans to the MSME sector. So here comes the roles of the NBFCs, which are now significantly impacting the lives of the MSME, and especially the micro and entrepreneurs from the small cities and towns, providing the credit access to them, helping them to expanding their business, product development, job creation, and proving as a catalyst in the much needed capital injection to the MSME sector. So and with the wave of this new fintech era, in which UGROs are also there, we use the cash flow based lending by using your account aggregators and the OCANE. And we all are just giving this fintech as giving a new initiative and a new meaning to the whole initiative. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rituji. So I think with this, if you allow, I would like to close this session and invite our Dr. Ranjit Mehta. I don't find him here though. So Babita, somebody can give a vote of thanks, and then maybe we'll immediately continue into the next session and do the question answers there.
I think that is better. We can start
So at
that.
least.
But I think, sir, before we close, yeah,
I was just suggesting that if you could give the.
Yeah, we should thank our speakers, and I think for that we will just felicitate with them with the mementos.
Sure. That's good.
So I think I will request first to start with you. I'll request you first to felicitate our chief guest from the Rajiv Ranjan Jha from Power Finance Corporation and present him a small token of appreciation, a small memento. So can I once again request you to please present the memento to our guest of honor, Mr. Amitabh Jha from UCO Bank. Thank you. We have our next speaker also here, Mr. Vijay Goel. Vijay Goel ji, he is sitting here. Vivek Goel ji, sorry, Vivek Goel, my apologies. Mr. Vivek Goel, can I request you to please come on the stage and present this memento to our one of the speaker, Mr. Meena, who is from SITV. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So I would like to continue with our esteemed speakers for the next session also. So I think we should thank them after our technical session. That will be great. So I think so we can start with our next session. I will invite other speakers also on the dais to start with. I'll request Mr. Vivek Goel to please come up on the stage. And I'll also request Mr. Raman also to please come on the stage, please. We will also do so. Mr. Akshay Kumar, he is from UCO Bank, Assistant General Manager, Mr. Akshay Kumar. So I will request him to come up on the stage, and also Mr. Bakuniji, Mr. B.S. Bakuniji also will join us on the stage. Please. Yeah, you can. I'm not. Thank you. I will request Mr. Deepak Jain, he is Chief General Manager from Power Finance Corporation, to please join us on a panel discussion here in a technical session.
You have to make a presentation actually.
Yes, sir, he will.
You have to help him.
संजय, एक मिनट आओ ना। हाँ, ये रहा, इनका दीपक जैन जी करवा दो। पहले नेक्स्ट करवा दो। हाँ, उनका रहेगा।
So Deepak Jain can make the first presentation. So now this is that we are going in straight away into the technical session, and request Deepak Jain ji to make the presentation on behalf of PFC.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I am Deepak Jain, Chief General Manager with Power Finance Corporation. I will start off with telling something about my company. Though all of you are aware about PFC, would I take this forward? It's not moving. Oh, it's gone. So, yeah. So Power Finance Corporation is a lender which was earlier dedicated only to power sector. So we have 36 years of experience in power sector financing. We are the largest NBFC in the country with a loan book of around 4.5 lakh crore with net worth of around 72,000 crores. We have been able to reduce our NPS to below net NPS to below 1% from around 4 to 5%, 4 to 5 years back. Given the size of the operations, our annual disbursement is in the range of around 85,000 crore. And we have a very well diversified liability profile. We borrow from the international market, domestic market through bonds and banks. Of course, we are a triple A rated company, which leads to lowest cost of borrowing. In 2019, we acquired another Government of India company called REC, and now REC PFC is the 52% owner of REC. We all know that the country is undergoing a green, the whole world is undergoing a green transition, and PFC is in the forefront of enabling this green transition towards renewals. So in the last 4 to 5 years, our loan book in renewals have been multiplied by 6 times. And recently in G20 conclave in Goa, we have signed MOUs worth around 2.5 lakh crore for funding renewals. For convention, we are slowly transitioning from a conventional lender of thermal and hydro projects to renewable projects which are of small ticket and require much faster turnaround time. So we have a faster credit delivery mechanism for renewable sector. Our interest rates are very competitive for renewable vis-a-vis our conventional projects. And given the amount of equity which is required by the sector in setting up huge amount of capacity, we are flexible in giving that equity up to 4:1. We have also started funding solar panel manufacturers and wind turbine manufacturers. And this is the list of our coveted borrowers, Renew, CLP, Avada. So you name it, everyone who is setting up, any big corporate who is setting up a renewable project in the country is a client of PFC. So as my director project was telling you that initially we were only lending to power projects, but now we have been mandated to lend to infrastructure. And the power project has all the characteristic of a normal infrastructure projects. So given the experience that we have gained in funding power project, it is coming very handy to lend to infrastructure project because the basic issue is the same. There's a concession agreement, basic input outputs are there. We have to do the financial analysis, we have to do the risk matrix and all. And this is a snapshot of all what PFC has already done. We have funded road projects, we have funded port, we have funded coal, refinery, water projects. So all these projects PFC has already funded in a short period of last 2 years, apart from power. Now, what are our credit facilities? So credit facilities are basically divided into CapEx and non-CapEx. So CapEx is basically term loan, as we all know, and refinancing of past loans given by other banks and institutions. Though we are a non-banking financial institution, we cannot give bank guarantees. So what, as a substitute, we have found out that we give a letter of comfort in favor of a bank, which in turn gives a bank guarantee. So this is a very important credit enhancement tool, which is used for various infrastructure projects. And then for non-capex loans, we give short-term loans and various other Government of India's schemes we are giving in the form of concessional credit to discoms, in the form of late payment surcharge facility and liquidity infusion schemes during COVID. Now, what are the advantages from taking a loan from a company like PFC? Since we are a company dedicated to infrastructure sector, so we understand the importance of long-term loans. So we give a tenure as high as around 30 to 35 years, depending on the life of the project. We can customize the loan tenure, the amortization schedule on the basis of the cash flow of the project. And of course, it is not so relevant for this forum that we have the ability to give loans as high as 16,000 crore to a single company. So that is a function of the net worth and on the rules as prescribed by RBI. And see, once a project loan is given, it has a gestation period of maybe 4 to 5 years to begin with. And many projects, they undergo time overruns, cost overrun, and the project completion stage goes up to as long as maybe 7 to 8 to 10 years. So during this period, many projects develop stress. And that is why my director of projects was saying that when we fund a project, we no longer remain a lender. We become a partner to the project. And when some stress is there in the project because of the circumstances or the financial position or something going wrong with the borrower itself in this long period of construction period. So PFC is a company which hand holds the borrower in the times of stress. We give a lot of relaxation. We try to go around our norms and enable the flow of credit to the project so the project gets completed. So that is one, I will say, beauty about PFC lending, which is very much required for infrastructure projects, may not be required for small SME loans. But when SME player is going in for a project financing, as Mr. Rajneesh was saying, giving home loans and car loans is very easy because it is security-based lending, not cash flow-based lending. But project financing is all about cash flow-based lending. And when SMEs and all will try to set up a small solar project of 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt, or going in for energy efficiency scheme, then the cash flow lending is of more importance, and companies like PFC can evolve themselves to cater to these kinds of requirements of the industry also. So there the experience of infrastructure financing will come handy for both PFC and the borrower. And of course, since we are AAA rated backed by Government of India, we give loans at the most competitive rate. And the most important thing for any PSU lender, not specifically to PFC, is the transparent policy framework. So we don't say that we show me the face, show me the rate. So we have a very transparent mechanism, and any borrower who comes to us will be given the same treatment, and we cannot charge a penny less or penny more from any borrower. Now this, another thing which was to be mentioned was about the eligibility criteria. How do a banker give loan? Though it is talking about the steps involved or the things which any project financer will look into, it basically means it has got two components: evaluation of the promoter and evaluation of the project. So evaluation of the promoter is basically, since this is a cash flow based lending, so it is not 100% lending because it's a risky lending. So some part of money has to come from promoter, which is called equity. So promoter appraisal is carried out, and equity requirements are stipulated as a part of appraisal. And then we see the experience of the promoter. How good is the promoter in the past in setting up these projects? And then all this comprises the promoter appraisal. Then the project appraisal is basically looking into the tying up of project inputs, outputs, what is the concession agreement, how rights and duties of various parties are balanced in the concession agreement, how the product is going to be sold. In power sector, there is a project document called PPA. So equivalent of that in the road project is a concession agreement through which the cash flows are ensured. So this all we also look at the project construction contractors who are going to set up the project. What is their experience? What is their rating? What is the contract which is going to be signed between the project proponent and the construction contractor? So all this we come under technical appraisal. And finally, we have to do the financial appraisal. So we have to project the cash flows and see to it that we get our loan back, which is the most important thing, for which all this technical analysis and the financial analysis is carried out. And we calculate basic financial parameters like IRR and DSCR. Now, what is a typical loan cycle in PFC? Initially we carry out a due diligence process, which is called the appraisal process, and we define the rate of interest, guarantees, securities, and a lot of conditions are stipulated which have to be complied. Then comes a loan documentation stage, which is part and parcel of any arrangement of financing. So there's a loan agreement, there is a trust and retention account. I'm not going to detail of it. It is very specific to infrastructure financing. Then there is a thing called deed of hypothecation, mortgage and all. Then disbursement comes, and then again, TRA takes a very important role in enabling disbursement, and the cash flows of the projects are trapped in the TRA of the project. Is nothing a bank account which is monitored by the lenders, so that lenders have control over the cash flows both during construction period and the operation period. Now, another thing was which was to be mentioned was about the challenges. What are the challenges in financing? So the first and foremost thing which is most important for any banker and for any financer is the technical economic viability of the project. So, but then comes the equity infusion. whether the promoter is able to infuse the equity in the project, then tying up of inputs and outputs. And then the another important thing which comes in financing is whether it's a recourse financing or a non-recourse financing, because the ask of every promoter, I guess, on earth will be to go for a non-recourse financing. You put up 80% of the 80% of the loan, I will give 20% of the equity. If something goes wrong, it is your baby. I am not bothered. So that is generally the mentality of any promoter. But ultimately, 80% of the loan is being given by the lenders. So they have to see their protection and recovery. So they obviously will like to have recourse on the balance sheet of the promoters or in the form of some guarantees or securities. Then there are a lot of condition precedents which are there typically in any infra project, which are negotiated between a banker and lender at the time of appraisal. So many times we see that promoters, they agree for many things at that period of time. But ultimately, when it comes to taking money or signing a document, many of those conditions are not complied. So that's why the promoters have to be more realistic about agreeing on these conditions during appraisal phase. I'm not going to detail of all these deals. I basically want to tell that how many sectors PFC has already funded. So ports, metros, airport, roads, EV, water, telecom, hospital, you name it, PFC is already there. Now, this is the last slide for my presentation. This is basically to tell you about how PFC becomes a partner once a project has been funded by PFC and issue crops up. Not one issue, multiple issue crop up during implementation phase. So this was a project which PFC has sanctioned, around 1,000 megawatt project in Chhattisgarh, coal-based project, RCAM Power Gen. So it had a debt of around 14,000 crore, and it was a well-structured project with sale tied up with the 3 discoms, and there was a fuel supply agreement with Coal India, all equity tied up. Everything was hunky-dory at the time of signing the loan documents. And it took off very well, but somewhere in between things went wrong and it got delayed. There was huge time overrun. And there was one particular thing that this project was to get mega power benefit. So you have to, that entails some concessional import duties from Government of India. For that, you have to give a BG to Government of India. So 500 crore worth of initially promoter could not give BG, so 500 crores of FDs were lying with Government of India. The project was dying because of lack of funds, and 500 crore were blocked with Government of India because that was policy. So now how to release, and that was equity money. So if this 500 crore comes, we can give another 1,500 crore. So it was like 2,000 crore gap in financing. So PFC tried a lot to get to discuss with Government of India to accommodate the project, but obviously it was very difficult. So ultimately lenders came forward. We had a lot of meetings. Actually, lenders were not willing to give the BG so that FDs could be released. So then PFC came forward and PFC gave a LOC again, that non-fund based activity. Letter of comfort PFC issued in favor of a bank, and bank issued a BG, and that 500 crore worth of money was released. It was pumped into the project, and then we released, all the lenders together released another 1,500 crore of debt. So this was one example how our infrastructure financer has to be a partner to the project. We cannot remain a lender. Then another problem with the project is, as I have been hearing since last 2 years, tying up of working capital. So once a project is partly commissioned, like this project had got 4 units. So 2 units got commissioned. And there was a buyer available. There was a coal supplier who was willing to give coal, but bankers were not willing to give the working capital for a partly commissioned project. Another 2 units, they are under construction, they're 70-80% complete. But just imagine if those 2 units can be put to work, then money can start coming in. But somebody has to give the working capital. But because of the risk aversion, because of the basic problems in the project and project getting delayed, nobody in the country was willing to give the working capital to a partly commissioned project. So there also PFC came forward. For the first time in the history of PFC, we issued working capital limits for this borrower. And then by seeing the boldness of PFC, later on other banks came forward to give the working capital, and then working capital lenders were made part of the consortium for ultimately restructuring. Because it was a very difficult project, ultimately it had to go for restructuring and it could not pay off all the dues on time. Then all these PPAs, they got delayed, and PFC lobbied very hard with all the agencies because we have very close association with all the discoms in the country. So our top management went there and activated these PPAs. Their money got stuck. We sat there, got the money released, and ultimately with a lot of support from PFC and later from bankers, because we had to become the role model. So finally the project got commissioned. And just imagine this 20,000 crore worth of infrastructure could have been reduced to a piece of junk had somebody like PFC not been there to support this infrastructure. So that is the kind of support PFC provides once it is in the game, because ultimately it becomes a national waste. This could have gone to NCLT and probably it could have been sold as junk, and lenders would have got 20-30% of their money. But because of the efforts of PFC, it got commissioned. All the 4 units got commissioned, and since the debt had ballooned because of IDC, obviously the debt restructuring was undertaken, and sustainable debt was found to be 60%, and the non-sustainable debt was found to be 40%. But as per the financial model, the entire sustainable debt which was converted to OCD was to be recovered. And as part of this balancing of restructuring plan, lenders took 26% equity stake. So now this project is running very fine, and this equity value, which was zero at that point of time. So a lot of equity value has already been created, and lenders, which whatever haircut they have taken during restructuring, I think a lot of it would be back through monetization of this equity whenever it happens. And it has been upgraded to stage 1 asset, and it is a performing asset for last 2 years. So that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak ji, not only for bringing out the true role of, I would say, a financial institution, specifically like PFC, but specifically this case study, because I'm sure to some of the lenders and to some of the borrowers present in this room, it would be nothing short of a miracle. And I can only say that I have had the benefit of being associated very deeply while this was happening. A lot of people may not even understand the kind of challenges and the kind of, I would say, standing on the brink of the mountain that the promoter has gone through, and the way you have held his hand. Because after putting in a very large project like this, 20,000 crores on the capex, if you do not get the working capital, maybe some of the large borrowers present in this room will understand how difficult it was. So I really I have to thank you for not only making this presentation, but including this case study as part of this presentation, because that's what the term lenders will have to aspire to in all the sectors, whether it is small, medium, large, or extra large, because that's what truly a term lender has to do. And at a time when the working capital was really a little dried up in the country, all this happened. How you solved the various challenges was really a learning lesson for all of us. So I thank you for that. And immediately hereafter, I would request Mr. Akshay Kumar is here, right? Would you be kind enough to come up and make the presentation on behalf of UCO? Thank you.
Yeah,
I would request you to introduce yourself before you start, because a lot of people may not know you as well.
Yeah, good evening, all. My name is B.S. Bhakuni. I'm DGM and branch head of large corporate branch, New Delhi, UCO Bank. And along with me, my friend, Mr. Akshay Kumar, SME head. So thank you, sir, for giving us this platform. And yeah, the theme of this seminar is, of course, MSME. And as I'm heading this large corporate branch, so this our presentation is in two parts. The first one is I will just introduce this the structure of our credit verticals. And then later on, this Mr. Akshay Kumar will present this MSME about the MSME sectors and how we are contributing and how what are our products, various products to cater these requirement of the MSMEs. So as UCO Bank, we are celebrating our 80th year. So this is basically we are Calcutta based bank. Our head office is situated in Calcutta. So we have three major verticals where we are catering the credit requirement of the large corporate, MSMEs, and retails. So basically we have three verticals. The first one is the flagship corporate department, where we are catering the requirement of the large corporates. And the second one is mid corporate. And the third one is retail, MSME, and agri departments. So all over this pan India, we have 6 such flagship corporate branches where we have some criteria for taking this all the credit proposals. So in second slide, I will elaborate it. And we have 2 overseas center also. One is Singapore and other is Hong Kong, apart from 6 large corporate branch. And in mid corporate verticals, we have all over India 27 mid corporates. And we have 43 zones, and these 43 zones are controlling around 3,200 branches all over India in different states. So this slide basically is about the role of the flagship corporate and what is the role of the mid corporate. So the flagship corporate, actually we have this all the 6 flagship corporate are directly reporting to our head office to expedite the credit process and to give the early decision, quick decision, as one of the panelists earlier explained that there are a lot of delay in processing. So to mitigate and to expedite the process, we have this one tier, 2 tier system. The FCC flagship corporate branches are directly reporting to head office. There is no reporting to the zonal office due to this to mitigate the time and to expedite the process and to give the timely credit to the large corporates. So basically, the processing, the role of the flagship department and flagship branches is to processing, analyzing, and all the domestic corporate proposals which are beyond 50 crores, 50 crore and above. It is being handled by flagship branches and flagship departments. And of course, 2 overseas branches are also under the flagship corporate department, and they are also directly reporting to our head office, flagship corporate department. And if there is any new business connection is there, we call it a new business proposal. So beyond the 50 crore of the this new business proposal is there. So it is directly to be submitted by flagship branches to the flagship this credit committee at head office levels. And the idea about this creating flagship branches is only to give the timely sanction and timely decisions of the credit to the corporate clients. And if there is any stress about stress in the at the period of the implementation or post implementation, if any stress is there, so this kind of hand holding, which we have talked about a lot in earlier sessions also, so that is also being taken care by finalizing this resolution plan and restructuring plan by the department directly. And of course, the last one is reportings. And if you come to the mid corporate here, this kind of mid corporate and where MSMEs are also there. So our mid corporate branches are catering this credit, giving the credit service, credit requirement, and all other kind of services to the mid corporate segments. So here we cater the proposals below 50 crore and up to 10 crores. So these mid corporate branches, our branches are directly under the administrative control of zonal office. So they submit their proposal to the zonal offices, and later on, if the proposal is beyond the power of the zonal office credit committee, then it goes to the head office, and simultaneously this our mid corporate branches submitting the proposal directly to the mid corporate department under looping system. Means the mid corporate branch will directly submit the proposal to the mid corporate department at head office level, and simultaneously the same will be submitted to the zonal office, and later on zonal office will also assess at their level to speed up the process. So this looping system is there. So there will be no delay at all. Basically, at head office level, we have two departments, flagship corporate, as already explained. Beyond 50 crores is taken care by flagship corporate department, and below 50 crores is taken care by the mid corporate department. So we have 6 flagship corporate branches, which is in Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Ahmedabad. And we have 27 mid corporate branches in all Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities. So they are under the mid corporate department at head office level and respective zonal office. And rest of the branches, we have around more than 3,200 branches, which are directly under control of 43 zones. So, and we have 2 overseas branches. One is Singapore and other is Hong Kong. So these are the, of course, we have exposure in almost all the sectors. No sector is left, but these are the 10 top sectors where we have exposures, like in infrastructures, this road, port, and airport, and NBFCs, of course, which is one of the main sector, and civil supplies, metals, EPC contractors, even banks also. We are giving the all the banks are giving among themselves also lending is there, through IBPC, FMCG, trading, chemical, all engineering, plastic, textile, commercial real estates, energy, petrochemicals, etc. There are these are the top 10 industries. So now the second part of this slide is MSME. So regarding MSME, my colleague, Mr. Akshay Kumar will give the presentations. Thank you all.
थैंक यू सर। जैसे मेरे सीनियर श्री बाकुनी जी ने बताया कि यूको बैंक का तकरीबन पूरा कार्य प्रणाली उन्होंने आपके सामने यहाँ रखी, और मंच पर आसीन सभी गणमान्य अतिथियों को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि उन्होंने यूको बैंक को ये मौका दिया कि हम अपने प्रोडक्ट्स, अपने सर्विस के बारे में आप लोग तक पहुँच सकें। एमएसएमई की बात होती है, एमएसएमई पे हम बहुत सारे आर्टिकल्स, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हम पढ़ते हैं, और मैं संक्षेप में कहूँ तो एक एमएसएमई एक ऐसा सेक्टर है जो हिंदुस्तान के एग्रीकल्चर के बाद, खेती बाड़ी के बाद सबसे ज़्यादा रोजगार देने वाला एक सेक्टर है, तो एमएसएमई है। एक आंकड़ों के अनुसार अगर हम बात करते हैं तो 2020 से 2023 का एक आंकड़ा उठाया जाए तो तकरीबन 12 करोड़ लोगों को रोजगार आज एमएसएमई सेक्टर मुहैया करा रहा है। हमारी जनसंख्या 140 करोड़ है, तो तकरीबन अगर मैं कहूँ तो 12 करोड़ लोगों को रोजगार मुहैया करा रहा है। और एमएसएमई सेक्टर्स में आने वाली जितनी यूनिट्स हैं, आज वो 8,000 से ज़्यादा प्रोडक्ट्स का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कर रही हैं, जो कि हमारे टोटल प्रोडक्ट जो मैन्युफैक्चर होते हैं उनके 30 से 40% आता है। हिंदुस्तान में होने वाला जो भी एक्सपोर्ट है उसमें एमएसएमई सेक्टर की योगदान 30% को एवरेज मेंटेन करता है। अगर पिछले 3 साल का डाटा हम देखें तो करीब 30-32% को मेंटेन करके चल रहा है। जीडीपी में कंट्रीब्यूशन एमएसएमई सेक्टर सबसे ज़्यादा देता है। लेकिन इसके साथ साथ एमएसएमई सेक्टर, जैसे हमारे पिछले स्पीकर्स ने बोला, कि बहुत सारी दिक्कतों का सामना एमएसएमई सेक्टर्स को करना पड़ता है, चाहे वो फंड की कमी हो, जिसमें हम जैसे बैंकर्स, एनबीएफसीज उसमें योगदान देते हैं, टेक्निकल इंफॉर्मेशन की कमी हो, मार्केट की कमी हो, रिसोर्सेज की कमी हो, ये सारी दिक्कतें जो आज भी एमएसएमई सेक्टर इस चीज़ को मतलब भुगत रहा है। इसमें अगर हम गवर्नमेंट के इनिशिएटिव की बात करते हैं तो आज गवर्नमेंट ने ये मैंडेटरी कर दिया है कि जितने भी भारत सरकार के उपक्रम है, जितने भी पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स हैं, वो कोई भी अपना परचेजिंग करेंगे तो उनको जैम पोर्टल जो गवर्नमेंट की मार्केट प्लेस है उसके तहत उनको अपना पंजीकरण कराना होगा और उसके तहत ही उनको परचेज करना होगा, जिसमें एमएसएमई सेक्टर की कंट्रीब्यूशन जो 20% था कि 20% आप एमएसएमई से खरीदेंगे, उसको बढ़ा के भारत सरकार 25% लेके आएंगे। और इस 25% में भी 3% कंट्रीब्यूशन, 3% जो परचेजिंग होगी उन एमएसएमई यूनिट से होगी जहां पर वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योर काम कर रहे हैं। तो ये वो तरीके हैं जो भारत सरकार समय समय पर उठा रही है, एमएसएमईज के हित में उठा रही है, जिसको हम देख भी रहे हैं कि आज हम जेम पोर्टल पे कोई भी एमएसएमई यूनिट रजिस्टर्ड करती है तो सबसे पहले उसके प्रोडक्ट को शॉर्टलिस्ट करा जाता है, इमीडिएटली उसको टेंडर या उसको वर्क ऑर्डर अलॉट होता है। पिछले दिनों में आपने पढ़ा होगा कि भारत सरकार ने क्लस्टर फार्मा के जो कॉन्सेप्ट लाया था मेडिकल फार्मा में, जिन्होंने कॉन्सेप्ट दिया था कि हम 70% तक का कॉस्ट जो भी आप खर्चा करेंगे उसको हम बियर करेंगे। ये वो इनिशिएटिव्स हैं जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया टाइम टू टाइम दे रही है। अब बात आती है सर फंडिंग की। तो जैसे एज ए बैंकर मेरा क्या, एज ए बैंकर हमारा मेन मोटो है पैसा डिपॉजिट कराते हैं और लैंडिंग करते हैं। तो यहाँ पर जो हम एमएसएमई यूनिट्स की योगदान की हम बात करेंगे, एज ए बैंकर रजनीश सर ने चेयरमैन एसबीआई, एक्स चेयरमैन एसबीआई सर ने बोला था कि बैंकर्स थोड़ा हिचकिचाते हैं एमएसएमई फंडिंग को देने में, लेकिन रिटेल लोन, होम लोन को बहुत अच्छी तरीके से देते हैं। उसमें मेरा एक पर्सनल ओपिनियन है सर कि होम लोन, कार लोन एक बड़ी स्कीमेटिक प्रोडक्ट है। इतने का मकान है, इतने % इनकम होनी चाहिए, 40% घर के लिए ले जाए, उसकी इनकम इतनी हो गई, उसको इतने लाख का होम लोन दे दिया जाएगा। एमएसएमई सेक्टर में अगर जो मेरे सीनियर बैंकर्स यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, वो भली बात ही परिचित है इस बात से कि एमएसएमई फंडिंग के लिए जो असेसमेंट वाला अप्रेजिंग ऑफिसर जब असेसमेंट करता है तो उसका प्रोसेस नोट 20 पन्नों का हो जाता है। वो बहुत सारी चीज़ों को देखते 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 लाता है, और उस 20 पन्ने में अगर गलती से कुछ चीज़ छूट गई तो वो 5 साल बाद या 4 साल बाद कभी पकड़ में आती है। इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए और यूनिट्स, एमएसएमई यूनिट्स की प्रॉब्लम्स को ध्यान में रखते हुए हर बैंक ने अपनी स्कीम्स को सिस्टमैटिक करना शुरू करा, जैसे कि रिटेल में है। उन्हीं स्टेप्स पे चलते हुए यूको बैंक ने भी अपनी पिछली जो स्कीम्स, जो हम जनरल एमएसएमई एक वर्ड सुना करते थे, आज यूको बैंक ने भी अपनी हर स्कीम्स को उस प्रोफेशन, उस बिजनेस के हिसाब से नाम देते हुए उसको स्कीमेटिक कर दिया, जिसकी सिंपल कंडीशंस बना दी गई। ये यूनिट इसके लिए एलिजिबल है, इसको इतना % दे सकते हैं, इस रेट पे दे सकते हैं, ये इसकी एलिजिबिलिटी रिक्वायरमेंट है। तो आज जब एक अप्रेजिंग ऑफिसर जब एमएसएमई के प्रपोजल को अप्रेज करता है तो उसके पास वो 20 पॉइंट की चेकलिस्ट होती है, उसको देखते हुए वो आगे फंडिंग में बढ़ जाता है, जो कि आज अगर रिटेल और होम की बात कहूँ तो शायद रिटेल और होम से ज़्यादा ईजी आज एमएसएमई फंडिंग एज ए बैंकर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हो गई है। फंडिंग की बात आती है तो हर एमएसएमई यूनिट का इच्छा होती है कि सर रेट क्या ऑफर करते हैं। तो सबसे पहली स्लाइड मैंने अपने प्रोडक्ट्स के रेट्स की आपके सामने पेश कर रहा हूँ, जो हमारे स्कीमेटिक प्रोडक्ट्स हैं। एमएसएमई प्रॉपर्टी लोन, अभी तक हमने प्रॉपर्टी लोन रिटेल का पार्ट सुनते थे कि बिजनेसमैन अपनी प्रॉपर्टी को मॉर्गेज करके वो कहीं फंड यूज करता था। यूको बैंक ने एमएसएमई प्रॉपर्टी लोन एमएसएमई रजिस्टर्ड यूनिट्स के लिए ये इंट्रोड्यूस करी है, जिसका रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट 9.30 से स्टार्ट होता है और एज पर सिबिल वो रेट धीरे धीरे बढ़ता है। सिबिल के बारे में अंत में मैं आपसे एक बार बात करूंगा। बिल्कुल दूसरी स्कीम, आज जैसे सर ने बोला, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट में सबसे ज़्यादा काम हो रहा है। हिंदुस्तान की जो हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था है अभी $3.75 ट्रिलियन चल रही है, जिसको हमें $5 ट्रिलियन का सपना हमारा है, जिसको हमें लेके जाना है। तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया सबसे ज़्यादा काम कर रही है। बैंक्स भी बढ़ चढ़कर इसमें फाइनेंस कर रहे हैं। ऐसे एंटरप्रेन्योर जो इस लाइन में जुड़े हुए हैं, जिनको अर्थ मूविंग इक्विपमेंट्स, बुलडोजर्स, एक्सकेवेटर, जो इस तरह की रिक्वायरमेंट्स उनको रहती है, उसके लिए टर्म लोन की फैसिलिटी यूको बैंक ने इक्विपमेंट फाइनेंस स्कीम में 10 लाख से लेकर 10 करोड़ तक की फंडिंग, ये भी हमारी 9.60 के रेट से शुरुआत होती है। क्लस्टर स्कीम्स, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने हर स्टेट में कुछ क्लस्टर्स आइडेंटिफाई करे। अगर मैं दिल्ली की बात करूं तो टेक्सटाइल में कुछ क्लस्टर, जैसा आपके गांधीनगर हो गया, नोएडा हो गया, होजरी के क्लस्टर्स आइडेंटिफाई करे हैं। हमारे गुजरात या सूरत में ये टेक्सटाइल मिल्स काफ़ी है, तो उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए टेक्सटाइल के लिए स्पेसिफिक स्कीम लॉन्च करी, जो 10 लाख से शुरू होकर 25 करोड़ तक जाती है, जिसमें वर्किंग कैपिटल लिमिट, टर्म लोन, दोनों तरीके की सुविधाएं, नॉन फंड बेस्ड सुविधा उपलब्ध होती है, जिसका रेट 9.60 से स्टार्ट होता है। बात आती है कॉन्ट्रैक्टर की। ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई भी बैंक या यूको बैंक कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को कभी फंडिंग नहीं करता था। सारी फंडिंग हम लोग इन सभी स्कीमों से हम फंडिंग करते थे, जिसको हम जनरल एमएसएमई का नाम दिया जाता था, क्योंकि एक बिजनेस स्पेसिफाइड या उसके नाम के हिसाब से कोई स्कीम नहीं थी। उसी को मद्देनजर रखते हुए यूको बैंक ने यूको कॉन्ट्रैक्टर स्कीम लॉन्च करी। कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के लिए सबसे बड़ी दुविधा होती थी कि बैंक हर तिमाही स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट मांगता था, बुक डेट्स वेरीफाई कराता था। कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के पास ये कभी भी उपलब्ध नहीं होते थे, क्योंकि उसका जिस साइट पे काम चल रहा है वहां पर उसका स्टॉक रखा हुआ है। यूको कॉन्ट्रैक्टर स्कीम में ये सुविधा बैंक ने दी। आप अगेंस्ट आपकी ओडी लिमिट मिलेगी, आपको कोई स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट सबमिट नहीं करने हैं, आप ओडी लिमिट लेंगे जिसका अमाउंट 10 लाख से शुरू होकर 10 करोड़ तक जाता है, जिसका ROI 9.80 से शुरू होता है। इसी के साथ हमारी 2 स्कीम, आप 3 स्कीम नीचे देख रहे हैं, जिसका नाम है यूको उद्योग बंधु, यूको ट्रेडर। उद्योग बंधु जैसे कि इसका नाम से समझ में आ रहा है कि जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ एक्टिविटीज या गुड सर्विस में इंक्लूड हैं, जो उद्योग के क्षेत्र में काम कार्य कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए यूको उद्योग बंधु स्कीम है। ये 1 लाख से शुरू होकर 5 करोड़ तक जाती है, जिसका रेट 9.85 से शुरू होता है। बात आती है ट्रेडर्स की, क्योंकि ट्रेडर एक ऐसा व्यवसाय है जिसमें हम लोग माल खरीदते हैं, माल बेचते हैं, उसके बेस पे हमारा सारा टर्नओवर या सारी इनकम या सारा कमीशन हमारा जाता है, डिजाइन इंक्लूड होता है। इसमें यूको बैंक द्वारा जो फंड प्रोवाइड कराया जाता है, 1 लाख से लेके 5 करोड़ तक नई यूनिट, और जो कोई यूनिट 2 साल पुरानी हो चुकी है उसको अप टू 7.5 करोड़ तक 9.85 के रेट से इस स्कीम के तहत वर्किंग कैपिटल लिमिट, टर्म लोन की फैसिलिटी या नॉन फंड बेस्ड लिमिट प्रोवाइड कराई जाती है। सर बात करते हैं, हमें बीच में हमारे कुछ एमिनेंट स्पीकर्स ने बोला कि अभी बैलेंस शीट बेस्ड फंडिंग हम लोग कर रहे हैं, कैश फ्लो बेस पे नहीं आए हैं, तो उसके लिए मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि तो हमारी जो यूको GST मित्रा स्कीम है, ये टोटली कैश फ्लो बेस्ड फंडिंग है, जिसके तहत हम किसी भी GST रजिस्टर्ड यूनिट, उसको भले ही 6 माह हुए हैं, मतलब न्यूनतम 6 माह होना जरूरी है, अगर उसको 6 महीने भी हुए हैं, उसके अकॉर्डिंग उसके 12 महीने की जो GST बनती है, 12 महीने की जो GST वो फाइल करते हैं, उसके सीधा 30% का गुणा निकालकर वर्किंग कैपिटल लिमिट मुहैया कराई जाती है। ये टोटली कैश फ्लो बेस्ड लैंडिंग है, जिसमें हम उसके GST प्लेटफॉर्म से उनके 12 महीने का GST का आंकड़ा निकालते हुए उसके बेस पे हम लोग फंडिंग करते हैं। और ये इस मंच के माध्यम से मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि ये हमारी वो जब हम बैंक्स के साथ फंडिंग करते हैं तो बहुत सारे लोगों की शिकायत आती है कि बैंक वाले प्रपोजल को प्रोसेस करते हुए रेशोज की बात बहुत करते हैं, साहब ये रेशो ऊपर आ रही है, ये रेशो नीचे जा रही है। तो ये वो स्कीम है यूको बैंक की जिसमें रेशोज के बेंचमार्क को साइड में रखा गया है, उसके कैश फ्लो को देखते हुए ही उसकी वर्किंग कैपिटल लिमिट निर्धारित करी गई है, जिसका रेट 10.85 से शुरू होता है। ये मेरे कुछ स्कीम्स के प्रोडक्ट्स के फीचर्स हैं। जैसे मैंने प्रॉपर्टी लोन में बताया, इस स्कीम में हम लोग ओडी लिमिट देते हैं। बिजनेसमैन को ओडी की रिक्वायरमेंट है, वो अपने कोई फैक्ट्री परचेज करना चाह रहा है, या कोई अपनी मशीन्स को नई मशीन्स परचेज करना चाह रहा है, या उसका किसी दूसरे बैंक के साथ, किसी NBFC के साथ हायर कॉस्ट पर फंडिंग है, उसको भी अगर वो रिपे करना चाहता है, तो यूको प्रॉपर्टी में कोई बिजनेसमैन अपनी प्रॉपर्टी मॉर्गेज करके एज ए ओडी लिमिट, जो जनरल भी रहती है, रिड्यूसिंग बैलेंस भी रहती है, या टर्म लोन या वर्किंग अपना नॉन फंड बेस्ड गारंटी के फॉर्म में भी फंडिंग हम लोगों से ले सकते हैं। इक्विपमेंट फाइनेंस, जैसे मैंने बताया, इक्विपमेंट फाइनेंस में यस खाली टर्म लोन की व्यवस्था है, क्योंकि आपका इसमें टर्म लोन 5 से 7 साल के लिए मिलता है, जिसमें मार्जिन 15% से लेकर 20% तक रहता है, यानी कि 75% से लेकर 80% तक उस इक्विपमेंट की कॉस्ट का बैंक फंडिंग करता है। थर्ड वन, टेक्सटाइल यूनिट्स, जो यूनिट्स किसी भी तरीके से टेक्सटाइल बिजनेस में जुड़ी हुई हैं। कई तरह की यूनिट्स होती हैं, चाहे वो धागे का काम करती हैं, हौजरी का आइटम बनाती हैं, मैनमेड अपैरल्स बनाती हैं, उनके लिए स्कीम है जिसमें हम लोग वर्किंग कैपिटल, टर्म लोन और बीजी लिमिट्स प्रोवाइड कराते हैं, जिसमें हमारा 25 CR तक का टोटल एक्सपोजर रहता है। इसमें टर्म लोन की अगर मैं मियाद या समय की बात करूं तो मशीन्स वगैरह परचेज करने के लिए 9 साल रहता है, और अगर कोई फैक्ट्री परचेज कर रहा है, कोई फैक्ट्री सेटअप कर रहा है, तो उनके लिए मैक्सिमम टेन्योर 12 साल रहता है। थर्ड, जिसको मैं बेस्ट स्कीम मानता हूँ, यूको कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, क्योंकि हमारे बहुत सारे कस्टमर्स और बहुत सारे व्यवसायी इस लाइन में काफ़ी लंबे समय से जुड़े हुए हैं और अभी भी इसमें काम करते हैं। ये वो स्कीम है जहाँ पर हम लोग ओडी लिमिट अपने कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स भाइयों को प्रोवाइड कराते हैं, ताकि वो इजीली ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ ओवरड्राफ्ट लिमिट अपना बिजनेस को सुचारू रूप से चला सकें। उनको कोई व्हीकल परचेज करना है अपने बिजनेस रिलेटेड, उसके लिए भी इसमें बैंक अप टू 80% ऑफ इट्स व्हीकल कॉस्ट फंडिंग करता है। नॉन फंड बेस की फैसिलिटी है। मात्र उनको हर तिमाही या हर छमाही अपने बुक डेट्स की स्टेटमेंट बैंक को सबमिट करनी होती है। यूको उद्योग बंधु, जैसा कि इसके नाम और इसकी पिक्चर से प्रदर्शित होता है कि ये उन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स के लिए जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग लाइन में जुड़े हुए हैं, जहां पर हम लोग वर्किंग कैपिटल, टर्म लोन, 9 साल तक के लिए टर्म लोन और वर्किंग कैपिटल लिमिट अप टू 5 CR तक की उनके रिक्वायरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग हम लोग बनाते हैं। यूको ट्रेडर, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि जो भी हमारे ट्रेडर यूनिट्स जो न्यूली रजिस्टर्ड है, जिनको अभी 2 साल नहीं हुए हैं, उनके लिए मैक्सिमम कैप 5 करोड़ है। जिनको 2 साल पूरे हो चुके हैं, प्रॉफिट अर्न कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए मैक्सिमम कैप 7.5 करोड़ है। जीएसटी मित्रा, जैसा अभी आप लोगों को बताया, हालांकि ऐसा नहीं है कि हम लोग जीएसटी मित्रा में ही पोर्टल को एक्सेस करते हैं। अब जैसा अभी हमारे एमिनेंट स्पीकर्स ने बोला, फिनटेक कंपनीज का यूज आज की डेट में उन प्लेटफॉर्म्स का यूज सभी बैंक्स कर रहे हैं। मैं आपको बताते हुए हर्ष होता है कि आज की डेट में जब हम किसी प्रोपोजल को प्रोसेस करते हैं तो उस टाइम हम कस्टमर्स के जीएसटी प्लेटफॉर्म को एक्सेस करते हैं, जिसके तहत हमारे पास जो भी उसके 12 महीने की जितना रिक्वायरमेंट होती है जीएसटी डाटा हमें अवेलेबल हो जाता है। इनकम टैक्स की साइट को एक्सेस करते हैं, जिसके तहत उनकी जो रिटर्न्स फाइल हुई हैं वो डाटा हमको अवेलेबल हो जाता है। तो वो फिनटेक का यूज आज बैंक जब अप्रेजल के टाइम पे करता है तो बहुत हद तक उसमें हमें एक सहायता मिलती है। और सर, इस मंच पर उपस्थित सभी गणमान्य अतिथियों को और सभा को बताते हुए मुझे हर्ष हो रहा है कि जैसे भारत सरकार का टारगेट होता है कि एमएसएमई में आपको इतने % ग्रोथ करनी है। पिछले वित्तीय वर्ष 22-23 में एक आंकड़े के अनुसार जितने पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स थे, उनका एवरेज ग्रोथ साइज एमएसएमई में 22 से 23 के मुकाबले 12% रहा और यूको बैंक ने उसमें 18% का योगदान करा। हम लोग एक अकेला बैंक था जिसने पिछले 22 से 23 में 18% की ग्रोथ एमएसएमई सेक्टर को दी है। ज़्यादा समय ना लेते हुए मैं आप लोगों से ये गुजारिश करना चाहूँगा कि जैसे मंच पर उपस्थित और भी पिछले स्पीकर्स ने सभी ने बोला कि एमएसएमई को बढ़ावा देना है तो एज ए बैंकर हमको आगे आना है। एज ए बैंकर हम आप लोगों के सामने हैं, आपके साथ हैं। आपसे गुजारिश है कि आप एक हाथ, 2 हाथ हम बढ़ाते हैं, 2 हाथ आप बढ़ाएं, ताकि अपनी अर्थव्यवस्था को हम $5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी पर ले जाएं और भारत के नाम को सर्वोच्च शिखर तक ले जाएं। इसी के साथ बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Akshay ji. Indeed, one of the most powerful presentations that we've seen today. And I really thank you कि आपने इतनी important बात भी बताई कि यूको का इतना बड़ा शेयर है, which is though not surprising after listening to your presentation, because the products and the integrity with which you are delivering them is what matters. And I think we'll share the presentation with our members also. And I will request Mr. Goel, who's also the chair of the MSME committee, to really dispense it in the membership. That will be of great value.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
इसी तरह PFC वाली भी जो presentation है, I have taken his concurrence and we'll be sharing with the large and the extra large corporates who are really wanting to access the benefit from there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ramanji. So, sorry, thank you so much, Akshayji. So, I think we have 3 very, very important speakers who actually bring a wisdom par excellence. Let me rapidly bring their perspective also for you and then maybe try to enlarge it into the real format that we were wanting for today. But it would not be justified if I keep you away from them. So starting with the finest, Mr. Raman Agarwal. I have the benefit of having worked with him in the chamber and off the chamber. He's one of the finest person I always go to for any NBFC related matter, especially, though he is himself a wisdom fountain. Raman has actually been the chairman of the FIDC, which is the Finance Industrial Development Council, the nodal, the apex body for the NBFCs in this country. And he's today the director also there. He's also the current consultant to World Bank on NBFC and other matters. Let me not stand in between him and you people. Raman Agarwal, for you, please.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji, for those kind words. And thank you, PhD Chamber, for giving me this opportunity. I think since we are already running short of time, in fact, delayed beyond, so I'll not take much of your time. Quickly try to touch upon something which till now has not been said, and rightly so, because that was slightly different perspective which I wanted to share. We've had some seasoned bankers and of course the public institutions like SIDBI and PF5 here talking about, and it's very heartening to see their encouragement. Let me just quickly tell you that when it comes to NBFCs, well, we know the entire genesis of the sector and the growth happened because we always cater to the unbanked. तो छोटे को फंड करना ही हमारा शुरू से बिजनेस रहा है, and that is where the sector has grown. Why I am bringing this perspective in this house today is because during the last about, if I say 2 years, I had spent more than 32 years now in the sector now. पिछले 2 साल में जो change आया है is very, very significant. I'll tell you why. Now, the figures started showing that the contribution of NBFCs in lending to MSMEs is growing at a very, very rapid pace. And there was then obviously a lot of studies and research is also done on that. And that is how fortunately I got associated even with an apex body like World Bank. Because during COVID times, World Bank gave a loan of $750 million to Government of India for MSME development. They identified 3 pillars for MSME development in India. And one of those 3 pillars was funding by NBFCs to MSMEs. This is World Bank which said that. And that is how I got roped in and they engaged me for the inputs. Then we saw a report from IMF, none other than Madam Geeta Gopinath, talk about the NBFC's contribution and how they are driving the economy. And the same then was carried forward. Recently, there was the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance went into this concept of MSME funding and credit needs. And they came out with a very interesting report. So what they said is that in India, if we have to really cater to the bottom of the pyramid, the micro, जो सबसे छोटे हैं, then we also need to handhold the small NBFCs. Let me tell you, today, we all know there are about 9,000 NBFCs registered with RBI. Out of that, more than 8,000 are themselves very small. You can call them themselves as SMEs. Those are MSMEs of the funding fraternity. Now, small lending to small is a very, very perfect fit in our society. And this recognition has now very fortunately crept in the corridors of power. So Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance recommended that let us now start hand-holding small NBFCs so that they can cater to the funding needs of the micro borrowers. And immediately, I'm very fortunate and happy to say that SIDBI, of course, as the apex body in funding of MSMEs, sprung into action. SIDBI constituted an advisory committee on NBFCs. Fortunately, I'm also a member there. And we are now developing an alternate grading model outside the rating system, a grading model for small NBFCs so that unko hum handhold kare taki they cater more to the funding needs of the micro and small businesses. Having said that, I'll quickly run upon one another initiative, which you might have heard of, obviously, is what is known as OPL, the online PSB loans, which originally started for the public sector banks, where PSB banks used to sanction MSME loans in 59 minutes. Now, that entity has gone beyond that. Now, it has gone far ahead. It is almost run like a private entity. And I had recently some interesting discussions with the people there. They are also now planning to rope in NBFCs. Why? Because now they are also doing what we just talked about, the cash flow based lending using GST Sahay income tax returns and the trinity of bank account, income tax returns and GST. So what is very critical for the MSME brothers and sisters sitting here is, I think today, what is of prime importance for you is your GST returns. Please ensure that your GST filings, your GST submissions are up to date and correct, because they are going to be the genesis, the backbone of your credibility in the market. So because when you talk of cash flow, the most authentic and most updated data available to any lender, be it a bank, NBFC, or a public financial institution, is the GST network. And RBI has now coined GSTN as an account aggregator. So this will, now let me bring one last concept which has not yet been talked about. The key pain area for any MSME sitting out here, you would agree, is the concept of delayed payments. Even I remember former Minister Nitin Gadkari ji at one point saying कि अगर delayed payments का इशू सॉल्व हो जाए तो शायद एमएसएमईज की क्रेडिट नीड्स भी बहुत हद तक टेक केयर हो जाए. Now towards that, we all know that this concept of factoring was introduced. Factoring Act amend किया गया, वो हम लोगों ने काफी उस पर लॉबी किया, and the Factoring Act was amended so that a lot of NBFCs can pitch in. Based on that, the electronic trades platform, trade receivables exchange discounting systems, the TREDS, 3 exchanges are running in the country today. Now, while initially it was aimed at all the public sector, but now those exchanges are heavily promoting, and I would request the chamber to organize some talks, bring them these exchanges to the chamber. They will tell you how important it is becoming for funding. So what they are doing is quickly running, 3 लोग register करते हैं. The vendor जिसके लिए आप काम कर रहे हैं, which could be a government body, a government company, or any other company, the MSME, and third, the lender, which could be a bank or a financial institution. The moment you have a bill in place, normal 90 days का credit period रहता ही है, and there are further delays, you as a registered entity can put that bill on the platform. The concerned जिसका bill है, he has to just acknowledge that yes, this bill is issued to me and I owe this payment. Once he confirms, banks और NBFCs उस पर bid करती हैं. Bid क्या करती है? Discount करती हैं. जो आपको 90 दिन बाद पैसा मिलना है, उसको discount करती हैं. Highest bid जो होती है, वो पैसा next day आपके account में आएगा. Next day. So this system is already in place. 3 exchanges काम कर रही हैं. One of them is based in Gurgaon only, the M1 exchange.
Ramanji, sorry to say, last 60 seconds.
Yeah,
please.
I'm just quickly finishing off. So I think that is one very good platform which you should be using. Finally, I'll close by pointing out one recent development which is I perceive as a negative development, where RBI has now issued directions that every loan for banks and NBFCs will have to be treated as an NPA on the end of the 90th day itself. उसमें कोई leverage नहीं रहेगा, but more importantly, वो वापस standard तभी होगा जब 100% payment वापस किया जाएगा. तो उस पर we have as a body has just made one small request that small loans up to 2 crores given to MSMEs should be treated differently than large corporate loans, and different norms should be prescribed for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramanji. Of course, I must tell you that the audience has actually not done justification to you, the lovely knowledge that you shared. I personally would like to thank you for all that you were sharing. And I agree with your idea that these 3 exchanges need to be brought to the chamber. We'll do everything to make that as a specific program. And I feel very apologetic to you about cutting you down because you cannot be contained in time in that sense. So, but my duty is that I need to take everyone out another 10 minutes or so because we've stretched them beyond time zones. But at the same time, I have to bring 2 specific fountains of knowledge also. Let me say Vivek Goel first, and Vivek brings with him an experience from a foreign bank to the set of regulations and the marketing that came into this country, and then NBFCs, one after the other, microfinance institution, and maybe many more. So listen it all from him. Vivek Goel, for you, please.
Good evening, everyone. A lot of my predecessors have talked about what banks are doing and what banks want. I have been in banking or financing side for over 2 decades now and seen SMEs grow from unstructured PD-based or personal discussion-based conversations to what data provides. And yes, there's plethora of data available. GST is there, banking is there, MCA data is there. Let me flip the conversation from the SME side. SMEs want funding, but at times SMEs miss out what banker is looking for. And in banking, we were taught 3 C's, and most of my banking friends will agree. First is character, capacity, and credibility. we only see these three things. And all this data and all the conversation and all the relationship that we are trying to talk about or nurture is to establish these three C's. So my humble request and suggestion to all the SMEs here and all my customers has been to build and work that out. This does not happen overnight. Data helps, but data also speaks inconsistencies. So be consistent. In SMEs, typically what we see, 99.4% of SMEs are micro enterprises, and usually it's a one-man show. If you take out that one man, the entire show collapses. There'll be cash flow delays, there'll be payment delays, there'll be production delays, irate customers, and bank won't get paid. So it is, I think, in my personal view, a fundamental responsibility for all the banking systems to bring SMEs up to speed. They need handholding and skill development and capacity building. Capacity building has to be in financial management, how they run their cash flows, how disciplined they are. If there's a cash in and cash out transaction, we have to actually teach them to get it through the banking system, put the GST in place. Don't listen to your CAs, because at times they're just trying to save pennies of taxes, which can translate, if missed, into missed opportunities in lending. We also need to see how SMEs graduate. I talked about a one-man show. This one-man show will last maybe a turnover of 25, 30, 35 crores. Then what? SMEs need to be taught, or the promoters need to be taught how to delegate, how to build teams, how to become from that 25 crore to a 50 crore to a 100 crore journey. And most want to do it, but most fail because as soon as they delegate, they are not comfortable. अपने हाथ से काम किया हुआ है तो दूसरे का काम पसंद नहीं आता जी. And also, this is where the falter happens and they start hitting a glass ceiling. That glass ceiling can only be broken if we as financial institutions also handhold them. We are financially handholding their businesses. They bring in equity, we give them debt capital. At the end of the day, it's capital. We are not giving them human skill. Maybe that is something the government is working, institutes are working, chambers are working. That's something that can really translate into meaningful growth in this in the economy. A simple maths one can do. If our SMEs start multiplying, 99.4% are less than 1 crore of turnover. Only 0.06% of SMEs require that hand-holding. And if we multiply those, that $5 trillion economy, my bad, sorry. I should not miss the trillion, that's very important. That's not very far. And what Moody's did this, very recently, few days back, or someone saying that we are going to double our GDP in next 5 years, it's very much possible. It will come from SMEs, nowhere else. The other thing that has to be seen is technology, and everyone is talking about tech. I'm not intentionally, I'm not repeating some of the points my predecessor said. I'm just talking about fresh points. Tech, everyone talks, and as I see tech, I have been working on technology and technology platforms since 2005, 2006. I was with a MNC bank, got exposure in Singapore on it. What I see in Indian ecosystem is tech is transaction recording. GST का data fetch करना portal में गए, data हम उठाकर ले आए. उसका क्या करना है? Again, we get into manual Excel. Someone is typing that data and analyzing it. The best and most interesting terminology these days is AIML, artificial intelligence, machine learning. And the PSU banks of our country have the largest set of financial information going back decades. If the chambers, the government, and the banks themselves can work with AI/ML and build automated, semi-automated, fully automated system, I don't see a challenge, or I don't see any hurdle in the near future where we can give them instant loan. Because SMEs will agree, they want two things. पैसा चाहिए और तब चाहिए जब मुझे चाहिए. आप मुझे 4 हफ्ते 5 हफ्ते बाद देंगे, नहीं हो सकता. So there can be products which are instant loan or pre-approved loans. In Western countries, we have concept of business cards, credit cards similar to a similar product, but you can use it, revolve it, and keep using it again and again, which is missing here. These products are tech-based, and you know what our technology space is working in fintechs. Fintechs are just tip of the iceberg. They are toying with the ideas of working with data to give solutions. If I put all the fintechs together with any one of the PSU banks, you know, it's like just grinding salt out of it. If one of the PSU banks takes all this tech, integrates, you're going to multiply manifold. I know Sanjeev ji, you're looking at the time. One concept I would like to leave here, and apart from various products and all, banks are not just an institute which takes money, gives money. Banks have multiple layers. We are talking about lending to SMEs through term loan, working capital facilities, or BGs, which are traditional products. One product which is missing in the Indian market is the debt capital market. And that is the biggest space if you go to any Western economy, where SMEs are able to, or corporates are able to issue public debt. In Indian context, that is missing. Bank treasuries, mutual funds, insurance companies only trade in GSEC or limited AAA paper. And my request, humble request to the chamber is, if you can take it up in a more structured format, bring that up. Bank treasuries can take the lead there and actually tell, this is a paper, instead of giving term loan, I'm subscribing, it is listed in the exchange, you can purchase, gives you better return than FD, retail participation can come, and it opens up the whole new aspect of deepening the credit markets. Credit market, in my view, has been very traditional. Out of 22 years of working, I have spent 17 years in credit myself in various geographies, various products, but we have to broaden the markets, both horizontally, go by geography, as well as, you know, going to multitudes of sources of capital. India has one of the largest saving rates, and Indian public wants to invest in something that is credible. Gold is most credible. We all have gold at home. Can we make corporate paper akin to gold? I'm sure we can do that. With that, I'll wrap that up. A lot has been covered by my predecessors. I have missed that intentionally because repetition does not add value. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek ji. Thank you. I was checking out some of the ideas that you were giving, how well they're working, how well they're not working. Whenever you speak, I'm reminded about a company in US, Rocketing. I'm a great fan of that company and would urge some of you people to build some kind of that kind of a company. One of the fastest growing companies in US and the most valuable company I've seen in the financial services space till date. More for that later, but I think we have somebody from the ground now, a man who fights on the street for the banks and the institutions to connect, to complete the last mile connectivity. And he's the one who's actually, a great marketeer and also a business growth and growth strategist. Let me bring in Rahul Narang as the last but not the least speaker. Rahul, please try and realize that you are now standing in between the people and the food, which they are really longing for, including myself.
Thank you so much.
So help us all, but please give your points, the most pertinent ones in maybe 4 minutes.
Just 30 seconds of introduction that I'm Rahul Narang and I've worked for 17 years in the financial industry, serving many banks for distribution network of their retail products, car loan, home loan, loan against property. So the past 8 months, I have been trying to figure out this MSME funding distribution network to customers, because every customer which I speak to or who comes through our marketing
is seeking MSME loans. So the gap wherein coming is I'm requesting the bankers as well as the chamber, they should be bigger because home loan and loan again, these retail products are, we are incentivized and we have a greater reach to the customers, be it MSME. And since we are not incentivized from the PSUs on MSMEs, it's a realistic situation, sorry, we may sell the unsecured business loan, wherein the eligibility of the client is 25 lakhs, and we put four files in different four institutions. We leverage him with 1 crore. The balance sheet goes for a toss. In case he connects with the banker, public sector banks, or maybe SDFC or maybe ICICI, the balance sheet doesn't support again for MSME lending because his debt equity ratio has just gone too high. So one of the factors which I'm requesting, I really appreciate your that slide, last slide, you have a diversification on textile and contractor. I have not seen anything in Bank of Baroda even, which is more aggressive right now for MSME segment. So one of the requests to my PSU banks is, please start appointing distributors. You can check on the background. I am not saying that just make it public. So that is one thing because they have a broader reach. They keep in touch with the clients with yearly new car purchases, general insurance, or maybe their home loan purchases, because maximum data which comes to us is through home loans. It is a retail product, it is a very easy product, but this is something we serve him into home loan, that comes to loan against property. Then when the collateral is exhausted, that is turned into unsecured business loan. So this is the point of meeting one SME segment. But unsecured business loan is not a healthy proposition to grow further because it's for 3 years. It has a higher EMI and definitely impacts the cash flow. One more point. Credit expansion is happening for the past 2 and 3 years, and rather I would say post-COVID, the situation is very easy to get credit in metros and tier 1 and tier 2 cities. But tier 3 city is also which should be taken care of. And credit expansion also means more borrowers for lenders and more money for borrowers. वो छोटा बूम आके कहीं वो ज्यादा पैसा आ जाए, कहीं वो गाड़ियों में ना खर्च हो रहा हो, कहीं वो लग्जरी ट्रिप्स पे ना खर्च हो रहा हो, वो कंट्रोलेबिलिटी भी जरूर होनी चाहिए. अदरवाइज द बबल विल बर्स्ट वन डे. और इसके साथ तो बाकी बहुत कुछ मेरे सहपाठियों ने और सब लोगों ने कहा है. आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक ऑल ऑफ देम. ब्यूटीफुल प्रेजेंटेशन अक्षय जी एंड ब्यूटीफुल इंटरेक्शन विथ यू, और मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. तो सारे PSUs का मैं एक रिक्वेस्ट फिर से बोलता हूं कि बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा ने एक अपनी कंपनी बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा फाइनेंशियल बनाई है, विच इज वेरी एग्रेसिव. दे शुड ऑल्सो फॉलो द प्रोसेस एंड दिस विल demoralize the mis-selling of SME segment. Thank you very much, Rahul.
Thank you once again. So I think I have one request, and before I seek the permission thereafter, which is that all of you probably have questions left unanswered. I do recognize that, and I would request if you can submit that either in the print format, if you have written it down, please share it with our secretariat. Babita ji and Sanjay ji, if you can raise up your hands and be present and be counted. Alongside, Babita ji, aap haath nahi utha rahe, to kaise log pehchanenge aapko? So one more request is that in case you are going to digitize it, please send an email to us. You have their numbers, you have WhatsApp connection, you have email connection. Please send it to us. The BFSI committee is going to try and make sure that 1, 2 or more bankers, lenders, institutions, NBFCs, MFIs, whatever you want, we will try to help you get the answers or at least get them connected. We've already noted some of the points which the panelists have brought out. The permission that I seek alongside is, allow me to close the session, because I know that the pangs of the hunger and the taste of the food probably would be kicking in by now. At least I'm responsible for the panelists, which I've kept them waiting for so long. So with that, may I seek your permission to close this? A round of applause for all of you also, and for all the panelists also. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think, sir, as you rightly said, that we all can have a informal discussion over the snacks over there. But as we're going to close the session, I would like to present the mementos as a token of appreciation for all our speakers. So I will request our co-chair, Shri Sanjeev Gupta ji, to present the memento to Mr. Deepak Jain, who is Chief General Manager, Power Finance Corporation, as a token of appreciation and giving us an insight about PFC. I'll again request sir to please. Yes, sir. I have few for him also. Sir. Yes, sir. So I'll request you to please present this memento to Mr. Akshay Kumar, who is the Assistant General Manager from UCO Bank, and Mr. Bakuni also. He has also given us the beautiful presentation. I think. Okay. So another memento to Mr. Vivek Goyal. He is from. Mr. Vivek Goyal is a group CEO of SAS Group and a board member for SV Credit Line Private Limited. Another one, just one more to the memento for Mr. Raman Agrawal, who is he's here, sir. He's here. Yes, a director FIDC. I'll request our co-chair, Shri Ashish Agrawal ji, to please come up. Sir, we have few more lists, sir. Sir, please come up. Sir, few more, sir. Few more to give, sir. Please join. Please join us, sir. Please join us for this memento session, sir. I request you to please present this memento to Mr. Rahul Narang, who is a professional retail and MSME finance. So requesting you again to please present the memento to our co-chair of MSME committee, Mr. Dev Prakash Goyal ji. So please present the memento to Sri Mukesh Mohan Gupta ji, who is the president of Chamber of Indian Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. So requesting you once again to please present the memento to Ms. Ritu Prakash Singh. She is from UGRO. So we have one more speaker who is not on the dais, but of course is with us. So we need to present the memento to Mr. Sanjeev Agrawal from JK Tires. So please come up on the stage.
Such a pleasure that you present. Yeah, of course, I did not know him. I had to take the benefit of my closeness to.
Sir, we missed one more memento that was to be given to Miss Manushri. We had missed you in the inaugural session. Please come over. I'll request to present one memento to Miss Manushri. She is from ICRA. Thank you so much, sir. And if you can just propose a formal vote of thanks. I know it's, sir. So this is just a customary, but I know that we have all put in so much effort.
Thank you, Gupta ji. I think it's a great session, and I'll just like to say one or two things, and then I'll close the session with my vote of thanks. I think we have galaxy of speakers today, and everybody has spoken very well. one thing just I would like to say that in the debt market or the loan market, actually, if you see, still there is a big gap in the lending actually in terms of the overall requirement and the whatever the availability there. So I was reading some report of the World Bank. I think there is something gap of something more than 30 lakh crore as of today. But it looks like that with the today's discussion that the bankers and the NBFC are very, very aggressive or excited to lend to this sector. So hopefully this gap will be fulfilled. And if we see from our country point of view that this debt to GDP ratio, or per capita to debt ratio, and all numbers are way behind actually in terms of other developing countries. I am not talking about the developed countries. So there is a great scope, huge scope, and the technology will help in a big manner. Everybody has spoken about the technology they are using actually. So I hope this today's discussion and today's session with the galaxy of speakers from the all kind of lending community will help to our members across India, and they can have, take the advantage of their schemes and the whatever the products they are offering. And I would like to thank you to all of you for coming here and give us the complete background of the product and the offering which you are giving to the industry, the members and all. And I would like to propose a hearty vote of thanks to all of you for all the eminent speakers who have come from the different places and they participated in this program. And I would like to thank you to all the sponsors also who have supported us, like PFC, UCO Bank, Bank of Baroda, also PNB and SMC Finance and NextGen for the knowledge partner. And I hope so that this program will help you to get the funding in a better manner or in a faster manner also, at the lower rate also, because many products have been displayed here where the rates are very, very low and these are innovative products. And I would like to thank you to the star of the today, Mr. Sanjeev Gupta, actually, who has done very hard efforts to make this program successful. So thank you, everybody, and thank you to all the participants who have come here to join this program and they have listened us patiently. Thank you all. Thank you once again. And I would like to invite all of you for the high tea. Thank you very much.
I'll only add one thanks, which Ashish has done so justifiably for all of others. But I would just like to add one more thanks to our secretariat and the support team, which has actually worked relentlessly, especially led by Babita ji, Sanjay ji, and all of the people who have actually done so.
They are the hidden heroes for us. Basically.
And the villagers have come all the way to grace our program. Thank you. आप लोगों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर. आप आए और इस program को आपने और चार चांद लगाए. Thank you so much. We value your contribution and thank you all of you for making it so memorable for this Saturday evening. But now let's indulge in some delicacies that they've kept for us. Thank you.